Chapter 754. Many people had entered the Star Pagoda. Some people did not pass the test, but when they came out of the pagoda, they had different gains. So, now that the Star Pagoda had appeared again, many people went to challenge it. The pagoda stood in the city. In front of the pagoda, there was a person who looked similar to Qin Shu Jian standing there like a puppet. That was an incarnation that Qin Shu Jian had created with his quintessential essence and a wisp of divine will. It did not have much strength. It was just to maintain the daily operation of the Star Pagoda. In the heavenly court, after Qin Shu Jian threw the Star Pagoda to the fallen immortal region, he said slowly, "The war is imminent. The heavenly soldiers will be selected every other year. We must gather 100,000 soldiers. As for the heavenly generals, it's the same. I hope that the heavenly court will have 100,000 heavenly soldiers and 1,000 heavenly generals in the future." 100,000 heavenly soldiers. That was just the most basic data. In the Third Era, the heavenly court had hundreds of millions of heavenly soldiers. But that was then, and this was now. In the current era, the strength of the great wide world was weak and could not be compared to the Third Era. It was impossible for hundreds of millions of heavenly soldiers to exist. After all, perfected immortals had only been born more than 10 years ago. The heavenly court had only been established for a little more than 10 years. Having 100,000 heavenly soldiers was almost the limit. There needed to be a buffer time. Now that the power of the stars in the heavens had been drawn down and shown on the great wide world, the method of spoiling things through excessive enthusiasm was almost used to the extreme. It would be difficult to speed up. The Demon Emperor said, "The heavenly soldier's cultivation is only around the heavenly human saint realm. The heavenly generals are slightly stronger, but they are only around the 10th level of the heavenly human realm. If the Emperor of Heaven wants to nurture this group of people to a level where they can dominate a region, I'm afraid it will take a lot of resources and a long time. I think that there's no need to recruit too many heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals." In front of a perfected immortal, 99.9% of the heavenly human realm were no different from ants. Not to mention killing a large number of them with a slap, it would be too difficult to kill them. The Emperor of Heaven, who could rival a perfected immortal at the heavenly human realm, was hard to come by in a million years. There was no comparison at all. With such resources, it was much better to leave them to feed the existing true immortals than to nurture heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. Many people showed expressions of approval when they heard this. They did not recommend recruiting too many celestial soldiers and celestial generals. The main reason was that the celestial soldiers and celestial generals were of limited use. If a war really broke out, they would be cannon fodder. Qin Shu Jian said, "For a genuine immortal, celestial beings are naturally ants. But heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals are different. I have a formation. If I can gather 100,000 heavenly soldiers, I can even kill a genuine immortal." He did not say much about the heavenly soldiers. Instead, he looked at Xiao Qingfeng. "For war gods present, all the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals of the heavenly court will be under your command. Each god of war can command 250 heavenly generals and 25,000 heavenly soldiers." As he spoke, Qin Shu Jian waved his hand and a ray of light appeared, landing directly on the foreheads of Xiao Qingfeng and the others. Immediately, the four of them instinctively closed their eyes. After a few breaths, they opened them again. Qin Shu Jian said, "I will bestow upon you a technique. You can impart it to all the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. Apart from the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals, no one is allowed to practice it without permission. Those who violate the rules will be executed without mercy. At the same time, you cannot neglect the practice of the formation. Similarly, you cannot teach it to others." Hearing this, Xiao Qingfeng and the others cupped their hands and replied, "Yes, Master." When the others saw this, their eyes involuntarily fell on Xiao Qingfeng and the others. Although the heavenly soldiers were not very useful to them. Now that the spirit qi had increased, the cultivation environment had greatly improved. Each of the clans had a significant number of deva cultivators and were far more powerful than they had been in the past. In some of the big clans, it would not be difficult to bring out hundreds of thousands of celestial beings and tens of thousands of saints. However, Qin Shujian's original words and his mysterious imparting of the technique made the other gods think differently. Indeed, celestial beings were like ants in front of perfected immortals. However, there was no guarantee that the Emperor of Heaven had some other means to make the heavenly soldiers work so well. What he said about killing perfected immortals was also a matter worth discussing. Only Emperor Zhao's expression changed slightly. Formation. If he guessed correctly, the reason why the heavenly soldiers could be so useful was because of the existence of the formation. That was because the Great Zhao also had a military formation. However, although the military formation was powerful, it could only fight against celestial beings at most. It was far from being able to fight against perfected immortals. The Emperor of Heaven should have an even more powerful military formation. Emperor Zhao thought to himself. The Great Zhao's military formation was included in the legacy of the Heavenly Court when he received it. Naturally, something from the ancient Heavenly Court would not be bad. However, the current Heavenly Court was not weaker than the ancient Heavenly Court in some aspects. In fact, it was even superior. I left the Heavenly Court some time ago and traveled to the Outer Realm. I found many planets to return to, but just as I was about to return, I suddenly encountered Demon Abyss. Demon Abyss. As soon as he finished speaking, the expressions of the gods changed drastically. Xiao Chengfeng said in a deep voice, "The Emperor of Heaven encountered Demon Abyss in the Outer Realm." That's right. Qin Shujian nodded and said calmly, "Wherever Demon Abyss passes, the surrounding space will become a land of no return. Any living being that enters Demon Abyss will be corroded by Demon Abyss and become its puppet. At this moment, Demon Abyss is coming to the Great Thousand World. If you explore the Outer Realm in the future, you must retreat immediately when you encounter Demon Abyss. Otherwise, even perfected immortals may die." When they talked about Demon Abyss, the gods' hearts were heavy. Apart from Xiao Chengfeng, the others had not really experienced the great tribulation of Demon Abyss. They only knew about the threat of Demon Abyss from the inheritance of their race. However, to be honest, they had never seen Demon Abyss. Xiao Chengfeng's expression was solemn as he said in a deep voice, "The Outer Realm is divided into 3 levels. The first is where the Great Thousand World is, which occupies a part of the Outer Realm. Part of it is where Demon Abyss and ferocious beasts are. This part of the extraterritorial void was also the most vast. It was much larger than the other 2 layers of extraterritorial void. As for the last part of the Outer Realm, it is called the Forbidden Zone." Forbidden Zone? The Demon Emperor revealed a puzzled expression. The way he looked at Xiao Chengfeng had already become strange. The Demon Emperor realized that Xiao Chengfeng seemed to know a lot about the Outer Realm and Demon Abyss. In fact, there were not many people who knew that Xiao Chengfeng was the reincarnation of the ancient immortal Lord Haotsung. Xiao Chengfeng said, "The so-called Forbidden Zone is where Demon Abyss exists. It is a forbidden zone for living beings. Any living being that enters the Forbidden Zone will not have the chance to come out. In fact, the Forbidden Zone is not fixed. The Forbidden Zone is where Demon Abyss is. Therefore, now that Demon Abyss is approaching, Demon Abyss living space will also be suppressed. In the end, Demon Abyss only has 2 choices. One is to struggle in the Forbidden Zone and be completely devoured by the Forbidden Zone and become Demon Abyss's puppet. The other is to attack the Great Thousand World and steal its origin. There has always been a rumor about Demon Abyss. After devouring the origin of the Great Thousand World, it can break the shackles of the Demon Emperor and reach the legendary sacred Demon Realm. After reaching that realm, the Forbidden Zone of Demon Abyss will not be a threat." Xiao Chengfeng's voice echoed in the Heavenly Palace. This information was a secret to most of the gods. Now that they heard Xiao Chengfeng's words, they gradually understood. Therefore, when Demon Abyss calms down, I'm afraid it will attack the Heavenly Court first. As Xiao Chengfeng said this, He took a step forward and cupped his hands at Qin Shu Jian. The Heavenly Emperor has no choice but to guard against the void demons. The Eastern God of War is right. I have already made preparations for this. Qin Shu Jian nodded. There was no possibility of reconciliation between Demon Abyss and the Great Thousand World. Therefore, there was no third option for both sides to join forces. Because Demon Abyss needed the origin of the Great Thousand World. Only by obtaining the origin of the Great Thousand World could the Demon Emperor break the original shackles and break through to the sacred demon realm. Even if the two sides cooperated on the surface, the Heavenly Court had to be careful of Demon Abyss stabbing them in the back. Compared to asking a tiger for its skin, Qin Shu Jian was more willing to use a more direct method. Moreover, there was no need for the Heavenly Court to waste time with Demon Abyss. With the current strength of the Heavenly Court, if they really went to war, they had a chance of winning. The longer they delayed, the faster Qin Shu Jian felt his strength increasing. Not to mention other things, just now that he had returned from the Outer Realm, his strength was already stronger than when the Heavenly Court had just left the Outer Realm. At Qin Shu Jian's realm, even if it was just a little stronger, it was still a significant increase. Moreover, he was certain that Demon Emperor Ba Duo's strength had definitely not recovered to its peak. However, the Void Evil Demon clan knows the method of blood sacrifice, so they might have other unorthodox methods. The Law Monument is damaged, but it's not completely impossible to recover. Qin Shu Jian thought to himself. The Law Monument was damaged, although the injury was serious. But in his opinion, there were other ways to repair it, and it was not as simple as one. Therefore, Qin Shu Jian wasn't sure if those demon emperors had mastered such a method. If not, it would be for the best. But if they did, perhaps it would really be a fierce battle. Hurry up and carry out the matter of the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. In addition, let the cultivators of the 10,000 races in the Outer Realm battlefield explore the Outer Realm with all their might. Although the Demon Emperor is the biggest threat, being able to kill the other Void Evil Demons can also indirectly weaken a portion of their strength. Qin Shu Jian said indifferently. Hearing this, the mountain-breaking emperor nodded and replied, Emperor of Heaven, don't worry. I will take care of the heavenly soldiers later. If the perfected immortals of the Heavenly Court are about to break through, you can stay here and seek for a breakthrough. If you don't have an opportunity for a breakthrough, you can also go to the Outer Realm Void to look for opportunities. No matter when, battle is the best medicine for a breakthrough. Your true spirits are already on the God roll. Even if you die in the Outer Realm Void, you can be reborn in the God roll. As long as you are not killed by a Dao fruit level existence, you will not really die. Qin Shu Jian said in a deep voice. Emperor of Heaven, do you mean that even the God roll can't revive us when a Dao fruit level existence makes a move? Xiang was stunned. This news surprised him a little. In addition to Xiang, the others were startled too. They had always thought that, apart from the end of their lifespan, the God roll could always preserve their true spirits, but now it seemed that this was not the case. Qin Shu Jian said, when a Dao fruit level existence makes a move, they can not only erase the current you, but also the past, the future, and the present. They can also erase all traces of your existence. You weren't born into the investiture of the gods. If you were killed before you entered the investiture of the gods, then you would have naturally perished. Of course, it is not only Dao fruit level existence that can attack the past. Even a ninth heaven immortal can do it. However, the two cannot be mentioned in the same breath because you have all existed for thousands of years. Even if a ninth heaven immortal crosses the river of time to attack, the God roll will stop him. Experts on the investiture of the gods would receive the protection of the investiture of the gods. Even a ninth heaven immortal would not be able to break the God roll's protection and completely kill the living beings on the roll. More importantly, if a powerhouse really breaks through the God roll's obstruction and kills you, the God roll can also find traces of your existence in the past and future of the river of time. At that time, it can absorb a trace of the imprint and be reborn as a true spirit. However, if a Dao fruit level existence makes a move, no traces will be left behind. This is the difference between the two. Qin Shu Jian said calmly. The deities understood. To put it bluntly, one was not completely wiped out, while the other was completely wiped out. The god role was not omnipotent. If they really encountered a Dao fruit level existence, they could only blame themselves for being unlucky. Qin Shujian said, however, as far as I know, there are no living Dao fruit level existences in this era, so there is no need to worry for the time being that a Dao fruit level existence will attack and directly wipe you out. There are many demon kings and demon emperors among the demons in the void. If we can take this opportunity to wipe out some of them, the pressure on the heavenly court will be greatly reduced in the future. Apart from that, there is one more thing you need to do in the void beyond, and that is to collect star cores. In the end, Qin Shujian added another sentence. Star cores? The deities exchanged glances. This term was very unfamiliar to them. Xiao Qingfeng frowned slightly and asked tentatively, is the star core that the Emperor of Heaven speaks of the core left behind after the destruction of a star? That's right. The Milky Way is of great use to me. It is related to whether we can contend against the demon abyss in the future, so we must collect star cores. After Qin Shujian finished speaking, True Essence surged with a wave of his hand. The image of a star core appeared in front of everyone. This is the star core, the core left behind after the destruction of a star. However, don't touch the ancient stars outside the greater 1,000 domains. There are sealed star beasts inside. Each of those star beasts is a powerful existence, and many of them are even comparable to upper-level true immortals. If the ancient stars are destroyed, the heavenly court will have to temporarily give up on the battlefield outside. Qin Shujian was also worried. What if some true immortal lost his mind and shattered the stars outside the great 1,000 world and released the sleeping star beasts inside? At that time, the number of casualties would not be small. Right now, refining Zhou Tian's star map required a large number of star cores. After wandering in the outer realm for a few months, he had only obtained a few star cores. It was far from the 365 star cores that Zhou Tian's star map required. Therefore, he could only ask the other true immortals of the heavenly court for help. Otherwise, even if he spent a few years alone, he would not be able to find enough star cores. When the gods heard this, they bowed and accepted the order. Yes, master. Dismissed. Qin Shujian waved his hand, and the court meeting was officially over. After the gods left, Qin Shujian left the heavenly palace and went directly above the heavenly court. The greater 1,000 domains was divided into 3 layers. The lowest layer was the core of the great 1,000 world, which was located beneath the earth. There were also unpredictable dangers in the depths of the earth. Almost no ordinary cultivator would go deep there. The middle layer was where the thousands of races lived. It was located above the ground and below the sky. It was also the largest area in the greater 1,000 domains. The words of the highest level. It was where the heavenly court was now, the astral wind layer. The astral wind layer did not sound big, but in fact, it was the same length as the entire greater 1,000 domains. In terms of height, although it was not as high as the ground to the sky, it was still tens of thousands of feet high. The heavenly court only occupied a small area of the astral wind layer. Above the heavenly court was Zhou Tian's star map. Above Zhou Tian's star map was still the astral wind layer. Qin Shujian broke through the heavenly court's formation and came directly above Zhou Tian's star map. There was a long sword standing there. Vast astral power lingered around it, as if a powerful cultivator was cultivating in seclusion. It sensed Qin Shujian's arrival. The long sword vibrated, and a cold voice came from it. The Emperor of Heaven is here. Yes, how are you? Qin Shujian smiled faintly. San Hua said calmly, Khanate cardinal treasures can improve. It's like a day in billions of years. What changes can there be? It's said that there's still a path above Khanate cardinal treasures. The Tao is endless. Khanate cardinal treasures naturally have a path above them. But even if there's a path, it's not so easy to take. There was some emotion in San Hua's cold voice. The higher one's realm was, the less one would think that one had reached the peak. The Tao was endless. Only when one reached a certain level could one understand the meaning of this sentence better. Whether it was Tao fruit experts or Khanate cardinal treasures, they were not the true end. Perhaps after breaking through the universe and truly discarding the false and leaving the true behind, there's a chance to see the path ahead. Sanhua sighed. He also wanted to break through the current shackles and break through to a higher level. Khanate cardinal treasures had a good name, but after leaving their host, their strength was not too strong. Or else, he would not have been subdued by Qin Shujian. At the end of the day, his strength was inferior and he had no choice but to submit. If you can transform and have a real physical body, perhaps you'll be a Tao fruit expert. Qin Shujian's gaze fell on the long sword, and he said with a serious expression, P.S. Monthly votes. Chapter 755. Khanate cardinal treasures were top-notch divine weapons. Like Tao fruit experts, they were the pinnacle of the universe. Any existence that reached the pinnacle was extraordinary. However, compared to true Tao fruit experts, Khanate cardinal treasures lacked a true physical body. Without a physical body, they were like rootless duckweed, unable to possess great power. As for the body of a cardinal treasure, it was only a shell given by heaven and earth. There was no way it could be compared to a true physical body. It's easier said than done to have a physical body. Khanate cardinal treasures have been born for so many eras, but which cardinal treasure truly has its own physical body? Even the cardinal treasures of the first era were destroyed in the tribulation. Under the shackles of the universe, Khanate cardinal treasures are the limit. Anyone who tries to break the shackles will attract heavenly punishment. Under heavenly punishment, who can stay out of harm's way? Sanhua said self-deprecatingly. Hearing this, Qin Shujian fell silent. Khanate cardinal treasures could not transform because of the rules of the universe. No one could change that. Just as Sanhua said, anyone who tried to break the rules would attract heavenly punishment. Tao fruit experts were said to have transcended the rules, but they still existed in the universe. They did not fear heavenly punishment, but that was only because of themselves. At this moment, the long sword vibrated and transformed into the appearance of a young man. Greetings, Emperor of Heaven. Sanhua bowed slightly, then straightened up and said, Emperor of Heaven, you didn't come here just to catch up with me, did you? Although he was the sword master's divine weapon. As a Khanate cardinal treasure, he had some connection with Qin Shujian of the Third Era. However, they were only in contact. They were not friends. Now that he had become an official of the heavenly court, rather than voluntarily, it was better to say that he was forced to submit by force. Therefore, when talking about catching up, Sanhua had a self-deprecating look on his face. Qin Shujian put his hands behind his back and said calmly, catching up is only one of the reasons. I have other things to do. As soon as he finished speaking, the investiture of the gods flew out. The list, which was originally 10 feet long, suddenly became 10 million feet long, blocking the sun. The appearance of the investiture of the gods caused the entire world to darken. The living beings of the myriad races instinctively raised their heads and looked towards the sky. At this moment, Qin Shujian performed hand seals and took out the stars sealed in the investiture of the gods. Suddenly, a dozen stars appeared. Boom! Stars appeared. In the blink of an eye, he was about to fall to the ground. That terrifying power caused the void to shatter. Seeing this, Qin Shujian waved his hand and countless array runes flew out. In the blink of an eye, a huge array was set up. Xingchen, who was originally falling towards the ground, seemed to be held up by an invisible hand and stopped directly. In an instant, he put away the investiture of the gods. The dark sky brightened up once again. In the sky above the heavenly court, there were a dozen or so stars that were forcefully stopped by the array formation. Immediately after, Qin Shujian's hands formed countless hand seals, all of which landed on the star. Those stars were covered by a mysterious power, and then they shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. It didn't matter if it was a star that was 100,000 feet long or a star that was several 100,000 feet long. At this moment, they all shrank at the same time. When the stars shrank to a certain extent, Qin Shu Jian directly grabbed the stars and pressed them down on Zhou Tian's star map below. Immediately, Zhou Tian's star map shook violently. Because this was not the real Zhou Tian star map, but the Zhou Tian star map that Qin Shu Jian created with the power of the investiture of the gods. Illusory power. It was not an easy task to carry a complete star. Zhou Tian's star map was about to collapse. The constellation seals that existed in Zhou Tian's star map shone brightly at this moment, causing Zhou Tian's star map that was about to collapse to become much more stable. Immediately after, the scattered brilliance that existed above also had power converging into it. Immediately, Zhou Tian's star map was completely stabilized. Immediately after, Qin Shu Jian began to insert the remaining stars into Zhou Tian's star map. Boom, the stars fell, and the vast star power crashed down like a waterfall. At that moment, the power that existed in the stars was continuously extracted and transformed by Zhou Tian's star map into star energy that was easy to absorb, covering the entire heavenly court. Then, through the heavenly court, it headed towards the four continents. When the power of the star sphere fell, the star power of the heavenly court more than doubled on its original basis. At the same time, the star power of the four continents also became denser. Some cultivators who were at a bottleneck couldn't help but break through under the impact of this power. Boom. The breakthrough was huge. The star power has become denser. What happened? I broke through. I finally broke through, haha. Although the cultivators of the myriad races were puzzled as to why the star power suddenly became denser, it didn't stop them from feeling happy. The star power was dense. The progress of their cultivation would become even faster. Some people also recalled the dark scene just now and secretly guessed if the two were related. In the sky above the heavenly court, Qin Shu Jian had already put away the investiture of the gods and stood on Zhou Tian's star map. The power contained in the stars is being extracted, and the illumination of the boundless world has consumed a lot. Based on the current energy contained in the stars, the weakest one can only last for a few months. Even if it is a powerful star, it will take at most 3 to 5 years for the energy contained within it to be completely extracted. Once the power in the stars was extracted, the stars would shatter. At that time, the stars that had exhausted their power would have no other use. In other words, the stars that he had obtained could only last for a period of time. After the power was exhausted, he would have to exchange for new stars. No matter how many stars there are in the outer realm, if it continues for thousands or tens of thousands of years, most of them will be exhausted. Qin Shu Jian shook his head. Fortunately, this situation didn't need to continue. It was just that the heavenly court didn't have enough power now, so they had to use such an extreme method to forcefully extract the star power. Under normal circumstances, the speed at which the star power was absorbed was balanced with the star itself. Not only could he obtain the star power to cultivate, but he also didn't have to worry about the star power being exhausted too much and causing the star to die. But there were disadvantages to doing this. The effect of cultivation wasn't as amazing as it was now. If a person with the same talent cultivated in the current environment, he might only need a dozen years to break through to the perfected immortal realm. But if he cultivated under the normal star power, he would need 10 times, or even dozens of times the time. Excessive enthusiasm. There were disadvantages and advantages. The disadvantage was that it consumed too much star power. It was like draining the pond to catch fish. The advantage was that it could produce enough powerhouses in a short period of time. But in the long run, it wasn't a good thing. I can't think so much now. Even if I really drain the pond to catch fish, it's better than waiting for the calamity to descend and losing everything. Qin Shu Jian's heart was cold. If he lost, then there would be nothing left. He was not a righteous person. All he could do was try his best while he was still alive. As for after he died, Qin Shu Jian couldn't be bothered to care about it. Sanhua looked at the star power below and was a little surprised. The Emperor of Heaven has directly moved the star from the outer void. Yes. Qin Shu Jian nodded. Then, he took a step into the air and left the place. He had other things to do now. After returning to the heavenly palace, Qin Shu Jian immediately found Niu and Chu Kuangtu. I found the demon abyss. Hearing that, Chu Kuangtu and Niu were both puzzled. Finding the demon abyss was a big deal. But looking at Qin Shu Jian's serious expression, they didn't quite understand. Moreover, if he just found the demon abyss, there was no need to specially come over and say it. The corner of Niu mouth twitched. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Emperor Qin, don't tell me you want to drag us into attacking the demon abyss together? I haven't recovered much of my strength. At most, I can deal with an upper third level true immortal. If I face a top upper third level true immortal, I'll die. I heard that there are even half-step Dao fruits in the demon abyss. It's too risky to rashly attack the demon abyss. Before Qin Shu Jian could say anything, Niu hurriedly said. He was really afraid that Qin Shu Jian would drag them into attacking the demon abyss on impulse. If it were the Emperor Qin of the Third Era, he might not be so impulsive. But in this era it was hard to say. Compared to the Emperor Qin of the Third Era, the Emperor Qin of this era was more humane, but also more impulsive. He would flip the table at the slightest provocation. Niu was worried that Qin Shu Jian would really have such an impulse. At that time, he couldn't refuse or not. Although Chu Kuangtu didn't say anything, his expression was subtle. Attack the demon abyss. That's crazy. After reincarnating, he had been mingling in the player's world. He wasn't very clear about the strength of the demon abyss, but after returning to the vast thousand domains, he had some understanding. With their strength, if they attacked the demon abyss, they would most likely be courting death. Qin Shu Jian was speechless. Niu and Chu Kuangtu's reaction made him not know how to continue the words that were at the tip of his tongue. A moment later, Qin Shu Jian shook his head and said, "Attack the demon abyss. Even if you want to die, I don't want to die with you. The problem of the demon abyss is secondary. But you'll never know the origin of the demon abyss. According to the information we've received, the demon abyss should have been opened by a Dao fruit. Perhaps there were other fallen Dao fruits who had awakened long before us. It's not impossible." Chu Kuangtu hesitated for a moment and gave a plausible answer. Since Qin Shu Jian had come personally to say it, and with such a serious attitude, he had made a big guess. The biggest possibility was, there must be a fallen Dao fruit from the previous era who had awakened earlier than them, recovered some strength, and then opened the demon abyss. No. Qin Shu Jian shook his head and said word by word, the demon abyss is formed by the body of a fallen Dao fruit. After that, he immediately added, a true Dao fruit fleshly body.
Boom.
This simple sentence set off stormy waves in the hearts of Chu Kuangtu and Niu. Impossible. Chu Kuangtu immediately denied it and said loudly, how can there be a real body of a Dao fruit? Could it be a fallen Dao fruit from this era? I don't think so. Qin Shu Jian shook his head and looked solemn. After I became the Emperor of Heaven, I've received some information. No new Dao fruit was born in this era. As for the Dao fruit from the previous era, it's possible that it fell in this era. However, I'm not completely sure. It was difficult to find out whether it was a fallen Dao fruit from the previous era or a fallen Dao fruit from the previous era. At this moment, the two finally understood why Qin Shu Jian's attitude was so solemn. It was indeed a big deal that the demon abyss was formed by the body of a Dao fruit.
Suddenly,
Niu expression also became serious. If the demon abyss is really formed by the body of a Dao fruit, then that existence may not have really fallen completely. It doesn't matter if he fell in the previous era or this era. Since the demon abyss is approaching the great thousand domains, it proves that that existence still retains its instinctive consciousness. His words make some sense. Chu Kuangtu glanced at Niu, then nodded and replied, in any case, that Dao fruit's goal is the great thousand domains. It's fine if he completely falls, then the demon abyss will only approach the great thousand domains instinctively and there will be no other consequences. However, if that existence doesn't completely fall, when the demon abyss really attacks the great thousand domains, there may be other unforeseen events. A Dao fruit expert who is not completely dead. He was a terrifying threat no matter where he was, especially in the current era, when not a single Dao fruit had been born. The strongest in the heavenly court was Qin Shu Jian, and the strongest in the Great Thousand Domains were probably the two half-step Dao fruit experts. With such strength, it was impossible to fight against a Dao fruit expert. Even if this Dao fruit expert was seriously injured and on the verge of death, leaving only a weak power, it was still the same. Once he broke through to the Dao fruit realm, he would be completely different from living beings below the Dao fruit realm. Even if he was a half-step Dao fruit expert, in front of a true Dao fruit expert, he was no different from an ant. Qin Shu Jian said, "I don't know whether he's completely dead or not. The purpose of my visit this time is to find out if there are any bodies of fallen Dao fruit experts in the first and second eras. If there are, I can roughly deduce something." He was sure. There were no such experts in the third era. The rest were the eras that must have existed after the first, second, and third eras. No matter what, the birth of each era was a completely independent existence. Although there were experts from the previous eras who were reborn in the third era, it did not mean that Qin Shu Jian had a complete understanding of the previous two eras. Hearing that, Chu Kuangtu and Niu Dali both fell into deep thought. After a long while, Chu Kuangtu shook his head and said, "The Dao fruit experts of the second era were almost completely dead at the end of the era. The only ones who really survived to the third era were me and the Weapon Emperor. As for the Dao fruit experts who died in the second era, their bodies also collapsed at the end of the era, leaving no corpses behind. Now, the Weapon Emperor is completely dead, and I'm the only one who is still alive in the second era." Speaking of this matter, Chu Kuangtu's expression did not change. After the end of the second era, all living beings, including his family, friends, and disciples, had died. In the beginning, Chu Kuangtu's emotions would fluctuate a little when he recalled these things.
But now,
he had already become calm. After all, at this realm, even if he was not completely indifferent, he was indifferent to many things. Coupled with the erosion of endless time, most of his emotions had dissipated. What was left was probably just pure memories. After Chu Kuangtu finished speaking, Niu Dali pondered for a moment and replied, "When the first era was destroyed, the living experts were all alive, and the dead experts all died at the end of the era. It's impossible to say that their bodies were preserved. But I heard that as early as the beginning of the era, some Dao fruits were born. At that time, a shocking war broke out, and it was said that some of the Dao fruits were also killed. I don't know if those Dao fruits still have their physical bodies left." After that, Niu Dali quickly added, "There should not be any bodies left, because at the moment of the end of the era, everything in the entire universe was exposed to us. Even if we did not have the power to seal ourselves, we would have collapsed in the face of real power, let alone the bodies of Dao fruits. How could there be any bodies left? The end of the era. The universe collapsed. If the living Dao fruit experts wanted to survive the tribulation, they had to use their own power to set up a protective barrier and completely seal themselves. When the real power dissipated and the universe reopened, they would naturally survive the tribulation. From the end of the universe to its opening, it only took a moment. But in that moment, even Dao fruit-level existences might not be able to withstand it. Therefore, the weaker Dao fruits would be eroded and destroyed by the real power at that moment. Only the stronger Dao fruits could survive that moment. It was also because of this. Any Dao fruit that survived was the kind that was extremely powerful. In that case, the body of that existence is not from the first three eras. Qin Shu Jian breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that it was not from the first three eras. If it was from the first three eras, it would be too terrifying. Because the longer a Dao fruit existed, the more tribulations it had survived, and the stronger it was. During the third era, he hadn't dared to say that he was the strongest among all the Dao fruit realm cultivators. Not to mention the strongest. Even if he was in the top 5, he might not necessarily be ranked. If it was really the remains of such a terrifying Dao fruit, it would be fine if the other party died, but if it was not completely dead, it would be a great threat. Compared to the Dao fruits of the previous eras. If the demon abyss was formed by the body of the Dao fruit of the later eras, Qin Shu Jian would have less to worry about. You too should recover your strength as soon as possible. If there is a chance, I'm more inclined to take the initiative to attack the demon abyss instead of passively taking a beating. Qin Shu Jian looked at the two of them and suddenly said with a smile. This, Niu Dali and Chu Quanta thought to themselves, then nodded reluctantly and replied perfunctorily, "We'll do our best." Chapter 756. The Extraterritorial Battlefield. After the Heavenly Court occupied part of the extraterritorial void, the experts of the myriad races entered one after another. Compared to the upper-class world, although the energy in the extraterritorial void was violent, its quality was also higher. However, the berserk energy was not something that anyone could absorb. For many cultivators, absorbing the energy of the extraterritorial void was equivalent to swallowing poison. It was a suicidal approach. The source of spirit energy in the upper-class world. Part of it came from the spirit veins, and part of it came from the extraterritorial void. However, when the energy of the extraterritorial void entered the upper-class world, it would be diluted and transformed into spirit energy that was easier to absorb. However, apart from cultivation, the real purpose of the experts of the myriad races entering the extraterritorial void was to hunt the void demons and earn the corresponding merit points. Ever since the Heavenly Court's merit point system was established, the experts of the myriad races, from the true immortals to the true martial realm, all flocked to it. Whether it was the deity position of the Heavenly Court or the rules of immortal ascension, they were all irresistible temptations. Although it was much easier to be born as a true immortal under the dual effects of spirit energy and star power. But in reality, no matter how easy it wasn't that easy to become a true immortal. The experts who could break through to the true immortal realm were the top experts of the myriad races. Their talent and strength were top-notch existences, and other cultivators couldn't compare to them at all. As for other cultivators, it was extremely difficult to break through to the true immortal realm. At this moment, in the extraterritorial battlefield, hundreds of cities suppressed the void, and each city was protected by an array to resist the god-destroying astral wind. A large number of cultivators and players of the myriad races went out of the cities to explore the extraterritorial void. At the same time, there were also many people resting and reorganizing in the cities, as well as recruiting soldiers and buying horses. A small stronghold of the void demons, a few god martial realm players. The requirement is at least the second level of the god martial realm. Those who are proficient in arrays can lower the standard, but the array realm can't be lower than a high-grade array master. An expert at the 5th level of the god martial realm is leading the team. There are still 5 spots in the team. It's best if there are 2 high-grade array masters. It would be best if there are array masters. Recruiting experts, mainly sword cultivators, who can have a high-grade spirit weapon. One by one, the players shouted in the city center. Now that the extraterritorial battlefield had appeared, it was like a brand new dungeon for them. There were a lot of benefits inside, but it was not so easy to get the benefits. There were many void demons. Demons of the void in the true martial realm were basically the lowest level of existence. Among them, there were many in the spirit martial realm and the god martial realm. More importantly, spatial demons were very hard to kill. A powerful void demon. One had to use the power of laws to kill them. Although the weaker ones could be killed without using the power of laws, they would require a great deal of power to destroy them. Therefore, in order to slay even the weakest void fiend, one's strength was extremely high. If the attack wasn't enough, if the cultivator's power wasn't enough to kill the void fiend, then there was a chance that the cultivator would be killed instead. The foreign battlefields had only appeared for a few months, and the information regarding the Void Devils was a summary of the players' bloody experiences. In the outer realm, there was a group of about 10 players exploring a certain area. How is it? Have you found the location? Fu Moyan turned to look at a young player and asked in a deep voice. Hearing this, that person took out a jade talisman and seemed to be sensing something. Shortly after, the jade talisman flashed slightly. That's right. The The group of void fiends we met last time is right in front. Good. Everyone, pay attention to hiding your aura. We have to hurry up and get closer. Fu Moyan smiled and turned to the others. Instantly, everyone nodded. Then, they concealed their auras to the extent that they could not be detected. The outer realm was vast and boundless, and there was no color. No matter where you went, it was pretty much the same. If you wanted to distinguish where it was, you would need to leave a mark. The last time he searched for the bronze token, he searched for a few years without any results. Fu Moyan could only sigh at the fact that he missed an opportunity to become a top expert. Then he threw himself into the construction of the foreign battlefields.
Until now.
Not only did he give up on searching for the bronze token, but the other players also gave up on this tempting mission. There was no other way. After searching for a few years, there was no news at all. Even if the mission reward was generous, time shouldn't be wasted like this. In addition, all the players searched together, but in the end, no one found it. Regarding this, Fu Moyan couldn't help but wonder if there was only one bronze token, compared to the bronze token. Now, in the outer realm, there were more opportunities. Dozens of players flew in the air. Occasionally, the god-slaying wind would blow, but it was all blocked by the god-fixing talisman. Fu Moyan said that Void Fiend's stronghold was discovered by us by accident. If I'm not wrong, it should be a small force of the Void Fiend's clan. The purpose is to be a warning. Once a strong enemy invades, the other Void Fiends will receive the news. Therefore, not far from that stronghold, there should be other Void Fiends' stronghold. We must act quickly and not give them any chance to react. Otherwise, if the Void Fiends from other strongholds are attracted, we will most likely be wiped out. Risk and opportunity coexisted. Although the reward for killing the Void Fiend was generous, the danger was also there. Subsequently, Fu Moyan looked at the male and female players. The two of you have prepared the array. After arriving at the stronghold, the first thing you can do is seal the void with the array. Otherwise, the noise will spread. Most of the factors for success or failure this time will depend on you. Captain, don't worry. There won't be a problem if we act. The male player smiled. He wasn't a member of Fu Moyan's original team, but was temporarily recruited by the other party. In other words, they were experts who were paid to hire. Their purpose was to assist Fu Moyan to eliminate the Void Fiend's stronghold. This profession, among the players, it was called a bounty hunter. They specialized in providing help to other player teams and then received a portion of the reward. Although this profession didn't have any explosive rewards, it won in stability. Regardless of success or failure, the reward would be in their hands. It took 2 days. Fu Moyan and the others finally stopped in their tracks. Cover the array. Everyone, restrain your aura, Fu Moyan said in a low voice. Immediately, the two players took action and used the formation to cover everyone in the team. Under the cover of the array, suddenly, everyone's figures disappeared. Looking at it with the naked eye, they couldn't detect any abnormality at all. The male player said in a low voice, "The strength of our two arrays is limited. At most, it can block the vision of the Void Fiend of the God Martial Arts realm. If it is the Void Fiend of the Celestial realm, it will be seen through directly. And if we get too close, the Void Fiend of the God Martial Arts realm in the late stage may also sense it." It's enough. Fu Moyan nodded. According to the short confrontation last time, the strongest people in the stronghold were only a few in the God Martial Arts realm. Last time, their strength wasn't enough, and they were eventually forced to retreat. But this time, their strength was enough. It wouldn't be a problem to get back at them again. In the quiet outer space in front of them, there was a black shadow lying there quietly. The so-called Black Shadow. It was the form of the Void Fiend's original body. Although the Void Fiend could transform into a human form, most of the time, the Void Fiend moved in the form of a black shadow. Because in the form of a black shadow, whether it was being attacked or escaping, it was much better than the human form. Recently, the creatures in the boundless world have been too rampant. Be careful. Don't let them barge in without permission. Otherwise, you and I can't bear this crime, Antoine said in a deep voice. He was the person in charge of this stronghold. If something happened to this stronghold, he would definitely be swallowed alive by the demon master. Hearing this, immediately, a black shadow replied, "Sir, don't worry. If those people didn't escape fast enough last time, we would have eaten them directly. I don't think the others have the guts to come again. Moreover, the Demon Master and the Demon King are constantly patrolling. As long as anything happens, it won't be long before experts come to help. There won't be a big problem. Even so, we still have to be careful." Antoine's tone softened a little, but it was still solemn. The situation was tense now. The creatures in the boundless world were constantly attacking the outer space, causing many territories that originally belonged to the Void Fiend clan to be affected. During this period of time, many Void Fiends had fallen in the hands of the Myriad clans. However, many of the Myriad clans were also killed by the Void Fiends. In any case, there were casualties between the two sides. In the big picture, there wasn't much change. But when it came to individuals, it was the difference between life and death. As one of the strongholds of the Luo clan. To put it nicely, it was the stronghold of the Guardian clan.
To put it bluntly,
that was the cannon fodder at the front line. As long as anything happened, with their strength, they would be the first to be sacrificed. No matter what the situation was later on, it didn't have much to do with the weak, void demons like them. Because they were cannon fodder. They were destined to be the first to die. If they wanted to save their lives, they had to be alert. Not to mention ensuring that there wouldn't be any accidents, as long as they had to retreat immediately when there was an accident. No living creature was not afraid of death. The Myriad clans were afraid of death. The Void Fiends were also afraid of death. It was just that the Void Fiend clan's hierarchy was even more strict. So many times, even if they knew that they were going to die, they had to obey the orders of their superiors. Those creatures of the boundless world are really not afraid of death. It's as if they can't be killed no matter how hard they try. It's so annoying. Antoine thought of the players and felt a wave of anger again. The creatures of the boundless world gave him a very strange feeling. Some people cherished their lives, but some people didn't seem to be afraid of death. Ever since the establishment of the stronghold, Antoine couldn't remember how many creatures of the boundless world he had killed. Even the people under him had changed wave after wave. Only when he was strong enough did he not die in the hands of those people. Humph. Thinking of some things, Antoine snorted coldly and didn't say anything more. At this moment, Fu Moyen and the others were already close to the stronghold. Everyone was holding their breaths. Even if they were covered by the formation, they didn't dare to breathe loudly, let alone reveal the slightest bit of their aura. In front of them, there was a black shadow lying there quietly. If one looked carefully, they would find that the black shadow was moving slowly, like a cloud floating in the sky. But it was different from a real cloud. The black shadow gave off an evil and ominous aura. All of a sudden, Fu Moyen stopped in his tracks and then used his divine consciousness to transmit a message. Stop. Hearing this, everyone else stopped what they were doing. The stronghold is here. It should be the location of the other strongholds some distance away. Lu Liang, Shen Wenyao, you guys set up the formation first. Fu Moyen transmitted his voice. The Lu Liang and Shen Wenyao he mentioned were the two bounty hunters that he had hired. Okay. The two of them looked at each other.
Then,
the concealing formation was broken, and dozens of streams of light shot out from the void and landed in other directions. The streams of light fell. The shadow of the formation plate appeared. Immediately, light rose from the formation plate, and two large formations appeared directly, swallowing all the demons of the void. The moment the formation was formed, Fu Moyen and the others immediately took the lead and charged towards one of the void demons. A terrifying power erupted. A demon of the god martial arts realm didn't even have time to react before it was torn apart by dozens of powerful attacks, and then the black shadow collapsed. Everything happened in an instant. It wasn't until one of them had fallen that the rest of the fiendish void demons reacted to the situation. Enemy attack. Quick, send a message immediately. Antoine roared, And then the black shadow filled the sky and charged toward Fu Moyen and the others. At the same time, the formation was activated, and a terrifying power immediately fell. Antoine only felt a terrifying pressure coming from the surrounding space, and without thinking, he withdrew his attack and bombarded the sky. Rumble. A powerful shockwave spread out, causing the array formation to tremble violently. Lu Liang's expression changed, and he said anxiously, "Don't let them attack the formation, or it won't last long." He had only just stepped into the ranks of array masters. The formation he had set up could only trap ordinary god martial arts realm cultivators, and with the help of a powerful formation plate, he could fight with a cultivator in the middle or late stage of the god martial arts realm, but that was all. If he really faced a cultivator in the late stage of the god martial arts realm alone, there was no way he could fight back. Antoine now. He was in the late stage of the god martial arts realm. Such strength was enough to shake the formation, and it was enough to shatter it. Fortunately, Lu Liang wasn't the only one who set up the formation, and Shen Wenyao was also setting it up. The two formations, one attacking and one defending, not only did they not conflict with each other, but they complemented each other and increased the power of the formation. Hearing this, Fu Moyen attacked again, and a sword aura slashed out from his spiritual sword, directly interrupting Antoine's attack. The other demons of the void also reacted at this time. Then, they all attacked the players. The battle only lasted for a moment, and it completely erupted.
To this,
the players didn't panic, and they attacked the demons of the void. Earlier on, they had already scouted out the strength of this stronghold. Now that they dared to come again, they were 100% confident.
So,
from the first demon of the void being killed instantly, to the later formation being set up, everything was completely within Fu Moyen's expectations.
It could be said that,
as long as nothing unexpected happened, this stronghold would definitely be destroyed by them. Let's end this quickly. Fu Moyen sneered, and his attacks didn't stop, temporarily holding Antoine back so that the other party couldn't care about anything else. In terms of realm, he was only in the 6th level of the god martial arts realm, and there was a certain gap between him and a late-stage god martial arts realm. But because he was well prepared, it wasn't a big problem to hold back a late-stage god martial arts realm for a short period of time.
Soon,
some demons of the void were killed. The black shadow dissipated, and then a crystal fell. The player who killed the demon of the void was quick, and he instantly grabbed the crystal in his hand. "You dare to kill my clansmen of the Mo Zyro clan, the lords will definitely not let you off." Antoine roared, and his attacks became even more fierce, making it difficult for Fu Moyen to defend. The current situation made him feel a trace of fear in his heart. A large number of clansmen of the stronghold had died, and there was the formation covering it. If this went on, even he would be at risk of dying.
So,
no matter what, Antoine couldn't just wait for death. "Hurry up and finish it. Don't delay anymore." The pressure increased greatly, and Fu Moyen's expression became solemn. A late-stage god martial arts realm who had gone crazy. If he wasn't careful, he might be beaten to death by the other party. Seeing this, Lu Liang immediately controlled the formation and attacked Antoine. The formation operated. The gung metal sword Qi shot out, turning into hundreds of long swords and cutting a large number of black shadows. Antoine let out a painful roar, and then exploded with all his strength. The moment he forced Fu Moyen to retreat, the black shadows condensed into a ball, and in the next second, bombarded the formation. Rumble. The void exploded, and the formation shook violently. At this moment, cracks had already appeared on the flawless formation. Just as Antoine was about to use all his strength to break the formation, Fu Moyen and the others came back to their senses and immediately attacked, interrupting the other party's attack.
Boom.
Boom. After fighting for about half an hour, Antoine was already forced to the point where he couldn't defend himself. He was strong, but with more than a dozen god martial arts realm warriors and the threat of the formation, he was no match for them. The outcome was doomed from the beginning. "If you want my life, then go to hell." Antoine went crazy. Hearing this, Fu Moyan and the others' expressions changed drastically. Before they could react, they saw the black shadows condense violently, and when it reached a critical point, it exploded with a loud bang. Boom! The self-destruction of a late-stage god martial arts realm warrior was a devastating blow to the other god martial arts realm cultivators. Under the power of this self-destruction, 4 or 5 players were directly swallowed, turned into white light, and dissipated. The remaining players were all sent flying, coughing up blood. Even the 2 formations that were used to conceal the energy fluctuations and trap the Void Fiend collapsed under the aftermath of the destruction. P.S. Support the original version. Chidian Chinese Network, app, Chidian Reading, I am decent. Chapter 757. The formation was destroyed. The shockwaves from the explosion instantly spread out in all directions. The evil demons of the void and other strongholds also noticed the commotion. Retreat! Fu Moyan roared. After taking the crystal that Antoine left behind, he was the first to escape. There was no way to hide this commotion. It was obvious that the other void demons from the other strongholds were rushing over. With their strength, if they were attacked by a large number of void demons, other than being killed and sent back to the city, there was no other outcome, although the players could revive. However, if all of them were to lose a level, they might lose everything they had invested in this operation. On the contrary, if they successfully retreated, even if a few people died from the explosion, there was still a certain amount of profit. After all, a late-stage god martial realm crystal. It was enough to exchange for many resources. If they used it to exchange for merit points, whether it was God Martial Realm Stage 1 or God Martial Realm Stage 10, the merit points would be the same. But for the players, different levels of crystals could provide different amounts of experience. For a God Martial Realm Stage 1 player, if it was a God Martial Realm Stage 1 crystal, it could increase one's experience by 10%. But if it was a God Martial Realm Stage 10 crystal, it could increase by at least 2 or 3 levels.
So,
exchanging a God Martial Realm Stage 1 crystal for merit points was worth it. But if it was a high-level crystal for merit points, then it was not worth it. The crystal that Antoine left behind, even if it wasn't God Martial Realm Stage 10, it was at least God Martial Realm Stage 7 or 8. As for the players that died, the strongest was only God Martial Realm Stage 4. Most of them were around God Martial Realm Stage 2 or Stage 3.
just like that.
Just this crystal alone was enough to make him feel that he had not suffered a loss. Not to mention, there were the crystals left behind by the other void demons. That was even more profitable. But if they were wiped out, then it was hard to say whether it was a profit or a loss. Without needing Fu Moyan to say anything, when Antoine self-destructed, the remaining players had already followed behind him and left. Lu Liang and Shen Wenyao, the 2 bounty hunters, didn't dare to fall behind. Although the reward for a bounty hunter was considerable, it definitely couldn't be compared to the price of losing a level. So they definitely couldn't die. Otherwise, this mission would be a complete loss. Just as Fu Moyan and the others were about to leave, they saw the void crack and a person walk out of it. Antoine and the others are dead. Quentin looked at the void in front of him that still had remnants of fluctuations, and his eyes suddenly turned cold. The death of a few God Martial Realm void demons was a negligible loss for the Luo clan. However, the death of Antoine and the other clansmen was not only a matter of loss, but also a matter of face for the Mo's Halo clan. If they allowed others to slaughter their own clansmen, then the Moxiaro clan would have no face to speak of. I'd like to see who dares to kill my clansmen. Quentin's eyes were still cold, but his divine sense had already spread out. Not long after, a cold smile appeared on his face. Found you, a bunch of rats. As soon as he finished speaking, Quentin did not move. The surrounding void suddenly shattered, and his figure was also swallowed by the shattered void. On the other side, the void collapsed. Boundless black shadows covered the sky and instantly landed on the heads of Fu Moyan and the others. The void was still the same void. However, there was a chilling power that confined everyone to the spot. Demon Lord? Or Demon King? Fu Moyan's forehead was covered in sweat. The worst outcome still happened. Antoine's self-destruction had attracted the attention of the fiendish void fiends. He could not sense Quentin's strength, but he knew that the other party's strength was far above his and the others. That cold force. It was almost about to freeze their blood. "You're the ones who killed my clansmen," Quentin's evil voice sounded, and Fu Moyan and the others could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. "You should be creatures of the great wide world, but you seem a little different. Let me see what's different about you." As soon as he finished speaking, a black shadow covered the sky and swallowed Fu Moyan and the others. As the black shadow spread, Fu Moyan and the others trembled violently. They wanted to resist with all their might, but there was nothing they could do. Their bodies were suppressed by that absolute power. Not to mention resisting, they could not even commit suicide. At this moment, Fu Moyan only felt a force invading his body, as if it wanted to occupy his body. This feeling caused a thought to surface in his mind. Possession. Quentin wanted to possess them. Although he knew that he would not really die, the feeling of being possessed by an expert still made him feel a sense of fear. At this moment, Quentin's divine consciousness had already entered Fu Moyan and the others' sea of consciousness. The moment it entered the sea of consciousness, then a terrifying and majestic power burst out. At that moment, all the dark force melted like snow in spring. "What is that?" Quentin let out a scream of horror. Before his divine consciousness retreated from Fu Moyan and the others, that terrifying and mysterious force directly followed the dark force and landed on his body. At that moment, Quentin did not even have time to react before he was directly swallowed up. The black shadow dissipated. A crystal quietly floated in the void. Fu Moyan and the others' faces stiffened. Looking at the crystal, they suddenly felt like they were living in a dream. What happened? Everyone was in a state of confusion. They didn't know why Quentin had fallen. After a short moment of confusion, they were pleasantly surprised. Quentin's strength was at least at the divinity level, and it was the extremely powerful kind. He might even be a demon king at the true immortal level. It was needless to say how precious the crystal left behind by the other party was. Boom! Lu Liang suddenly made a move. The remaining array disc broke through the air and directly covered the few players. Just as the formation was about to descend, he did not even look and just grabbed the crystal. The moment Lu Liang made a move, Shen Wenyao also made a move. But her target was not Fu Moyan and the others, but Lu Liang. At this moment, whether it was a cooperative relationship or a teammate, it was completely unimportant. The crystal left behind after Quentin's death was the greatest treasure to them. Whoever could get it would have the hope of becoming an expert at the divinity level. The strongest player at this stage was only at the late stage of the divine martial realm. Once they broke through to the divinity level, they would be the #1 player in the 4 continents. When the time came, with the strength of the divinity level, it would not be difficult to kill the more powerful demons of the void. One step ahead would be one step ahead.
It could be said that
the crystal in front of them was enough to change a person's fate. Boom! When the array fell, Fu Moyan directly threw out the spirit sword in his hand. It exploded in the air. The power of the spirit sword explosion was no less than the power of the divine martial realm's explosion. Lu Liang's array disc was already damaged when Antoine's self exploded. Now that it was hit by the spirit sword's explosion, it instantly shattered. Just as the array was about to shatter, Fu Moyan took out another spirit sword from his storage ring. The sword energy was already slashing toward Shen Wenyao. "I knew you would do this. The crystal is mine. No one can take it away." There was only the crystal in his eyes. Shen Wenyao was about to touch the crystal. Suddenly, her heart skipped a beat when she saw Fu Moyan's sword energy slashing toward her. Seeing this, not only did she not retreat, but she also sped up and directly grabbed the crystal in her hand. As she grabbed the crystal, the sword energy slashed down. Shen Wenyao let out a scream. Half of her arm was directly cut off. Blood splattered in the air. That excruciating pain. It made her face contort. Her body that was about to escape also paused for a moment. It was also this pause. Fu Moyan slashed again and cut off Shen Wenyao's right hand. Blood splattered. Her wrist fell. The wrist that fell was still holding the crystal tightly. Everything happened in an instant. Shen Wenyao had just gotten the crystal in her hand when her two arms were crippled. Her beautiful face had already turned pale. Her facial features were twisted together because of the excruciating pain. Crippling Shen Wenyao. Fu Moyan did not take advantage of the victory to pursue and kill the other party in one fell swoop. Instead, he grabbed the crystal. Boom! The sword energy broke through the air. A young player interrupted Fu Moyan's actions. "Captain, it's not good to eat alone." As he spoke, he pounced toward the crystal instead. Seeing this, Fu Moyan's eyes were cold. "A piece of trash, like you wants to snatch the treasure in front of me. I'm afraid you've forgotten why I can be the captain, and you can only be a pawn." He stepped into the void and overtook the young player as if he had made a move later than the other player. The long sword slashed down, filled with killing intent. Because of Quentin's sudden death, a crystal directly caused this team to split up. Everyone only had one goal, and that was to snatch the crystal stones. Very soon, once the young player was killed, Fu Moyan took the crystal. The moment he got it, he did not even look at the surrounding environment and immediately fled into the distance. Just as Fu Moyan was fleeing, Lu Liang and the others immediately chased after him. "Leave the crystal, and I'll let you live. You won't be able to escape."
To this,
Fu Moyan turned a deaf ear and continued to think about escaping into the void. He did not escape in other directions. Instead, he headed toward the back of the extraterrestrial battlefield. Because killing was prohibited in the city, everyone was the same. Once someone dared to make a move in the city, the experts of the Heavenly Court would appear to kill them. If he directly left the extraterrestrial battlefield and returned to the boundless world, it would not be so safe. Therefore, to Fu Moyan, returning to the city behind the extraterrestrial battlefield was the safest way. Lu Liang and the others did not have a chance to snatch the crystal. He was also not afraid that the news would leak and attract other players to snatch it. As for the Heavenly Court, it was impossible for them to attack him for a small piece of crystal. After all, the Heavenly Court was a big family and was known as the #1 force of the 10,000 races. Quentin's crystal. To the players, it was extremely precious. But to the Heavenly Court, it was dispensable. As long as he returned to the city, he could refine the crystal or exchange it for merit points. That was doable. Once he digested the crystal, Fu Moyan would not have to worry so much. "I don't know what stage this crystal is at. I can only wait until I return and see if I can directly absorb it or exchange it for merit points." He did not think too much and used all his strength to escape into the void. It was the same as the crystal of the god martial realm. If it was the crystal of the heaven realm, it would not be good to exchange it for merit points. Anyway, a high-grade crystal had too many uses. In the exchange manual given by the Heavenly Court, the things that could be exchanged with Heaven Realm merit points were not comparable to the things exchanged with God martial arts merit points. Although one Heaven Realm merit point could only be exchanged for 10 God martial arts merit points in front of the officials. But in fact, the price in the secret black market was not at this price at all. One Heaven Realm merit point was enough to exchange for dozens of God martial arts merit points. Just like that, the supply could not meet the demand. Because with the strength of the players at this stage, it was too difficult to kill a Heaven Realm Void Demon. And even if they were lucky enough to get a Heaven Realm crystal, they would use it for themselves and would not exchange it. Those who really took it out for exchange. In fact, it was not the players, but the cultivators of the 10,000 races. Just when Quentin was killed, the Heavenly Court, Qin Shujian, Chu Kuangtu, and the others, who were in the midst of cultivation, suddenly woke up. Soon, a man and a bull had already arrived in front of the Heavenly Palace. Mu Yang, who was in front of the Heavenly Palace, directly opened the gate of the Heavenly Palace. "The Emperor of Heaven invites you." "Okay." Chu Kuangtu nodded and walked in with Niodali. The inner hall. As soon as Chu Kuangtu and Niodali came in, they saw Qin Shujian's solemn face. "You've noticed it, right?" Qin Shujian's face was solemn, and his expression was unprecedentedly serious. Hearing that, Chu Kuangtu nodded and said, I've noticed it. The real power has just appeared, but it's very weak and the source is very far away. The target should be in the extraterritorial void. The universe has not begun to collapse now, so it's impossible for the real power to appear. Could it be that the 4-player worlds have begun a large-scale attack? Niodali's face was very ugly. The real power reminded him of the scene of the collapse of the Third Era. If it weren't for the Taiching holy man's protection, he would have fallen in the hands of the real power. Qin Shujian said in a deep voice, the heavenly axiom of the 4-player worlds has not yet attacked. As the Emperor of Heaven, the changes of the heavenly axiom of the greater world cannot be hidden from my perception. At present, the heavenly axiom of the player world is still in a state of encroachment. As for the collapse of the universe, there is still a period of time. The real power that has appeared inexplicably now, I don't know what caused it. After that, the scene suddenly fell silent. They were all strong masters who had experienced the end of an era, and Niodali and Chu Kuangtu had experienced the end of more than one era. Therefore, the 3 of them were very sensitive to the real power. Even if there was a wisp of it, it couldn't be hidden from their perception. After a long time, Chu Kuangtu ended his state of contemplation, looked up at Qin Shujian and said, Maybe I know where the real power comes from. Say it. It should be from the players. Players? What does it have to do with the players? Qin Shujian looked puzzled, and the other party's words made him a little puzzled. The real power. It should not be related to the players. In other words, the players were not qualified to control the real power in the universe. Although the life essence of the players was higher than the creatures in the universe, they were still not qualified to use the real power in the universe. Unless, if the players were also strong masters at the Tao fruit level, they could break the gap between reality and illusion. Otherwise, it was absolutely impossible. Chu Kuangtu said, You should know that I have once sneaked into the player's world, and there is only one way to sneak into the player's world, that is, to seize the player's bodies and then enter through the player's bodies. But the player's sea of consciousness is protected by the real power. Any strong master who wants to seize the player's bodies will encounter the real power's counterattack. It's just that this real power is very weak, so as long as it is a strong master at the Tao fruit level, it can be defeated. After a pause, Chu Kuangtu continued, The real power just now was very weak, so weak that it was almost negligible. If I'm not wrong, the source of that power should be from the player's sea of consciousness. In addition, the source was from the extraterritorial void. If I'm not wrong, it was the void demon who tried to seize the player's bodies, but it drew out the real power. Hearing that, Qin Shujian nodded thoughtfully. Chu Kuangtu's explanation was indeed reasonable. He had never seized the player's bodies, so he didn't know that there was such a power guarding the player's sea of consciousness. But on second thought, Qin Shujian also felt that it was reasonable. After all, the players were also living creatures of the real world. As the vanguard of the real world's heavenly Tao invading the universe, it was impossible for them not to have any means of defense. It was impossible for the strong masters of the universe to seize the players' bodies. Niodali said, If that's the case, there won't be any problem. This level of real power is too weak to cause a big movement in the universe. The universe ended because of the invasion of real power. If a strong real power appeared, the entire universe would end in advance. It was just that the real power of that level just now would be destroyed by the power of the universe as soon as it appeared. It wouldn't cause too much trouble. The reason why they took it so seriously, it was not because of the weak real power, but because of the appearance of the real power. Now that they knew the cause, they were relieved. On the other side, in the extraterritorial void, Fu Moyan also immediately fled into a city behind the extraterritorial battlefield. After entering the city, he immediately returned to his original temporary residence and waited until all the doors and windows were closed before he took the crystal out of the storage ring. Until now, Fu Moyan finally had time to check the attributes of the crystal. When he calmed down and focused his attention on the crystal, his originally calm heart suddenly set off stormy waves. Fu Moyan had automatically ignored most of the description of the attributes on the crystal. In the end, only the first 4 words were left in his eyes. Second level of true immortal. P.S. Seeking monthly votes. Chapter 758. Fu Moyan's fingers were trembling. His mind was completely filled with the words second-level perfected immortal. Second-level perfected immortal. Second-level immortals. Fu Moyan tried his best to breathe, but he couldn't calm his mind. He only had one thought now. That was, the crystal in his hand must not be taken away by others. After spending a few years, he still couldn't find the bronze token, nor did he get the opportunity behind the bronze token. In the end, he went out to the outer realm and unexpectedly obtained such a benefit. Although in Fu Moyan's opinion, the opportunity behind the bronze token might be related to the secret of the Emperor of Heaven. Compared to it, the second-level immortal crystal in his hand was much worse. But what he had to know was, behind the bronze token might be the opportunity to become the Emperor of Heaven, but that was just a guess and didn't have much practical evidence. Perhaps the reason why Qin Shujian became the Emperor of Heaven wasn't because of the bronze token, but because of other reasons. In comparison, the crystal of the second-level immortal was a real benefit. If a crystal of the second-level perfected immortal was exchanged, it could be exchanged for at least 10,000 perfected immortal merit points. It was different from the merit points of other realms. There was a range of perfected immortal merit points. The lowest was 10,000 points, and the highest was 1 million points. The crystal in my hand is from the second-level immortal. If I exchange it, it can be exchanged for at least 20,000 perfected immortal merit points. Fu Moyan forced himself to calm down. Looking at the crystal in his hand, his eyes kept changing. There were 9 levels of perfected immortals. There was no need to think about 1 million perfected immortal merit points. That was the treatment that only a 9th-level perfected immortal could give. As for the second-level perfected immortal, it was the weakest after the first-level perfected immortal. In this way, the crystal of the second-level perfected immortal could only be exchanged for a few tens of thousands of merit points at most. 100,000 perfected immortal merit points can be exchanged for 1 million Devis merit points. With 1 million Devis merit points, I can directly exchange for a rule and become a perfected immortal on the spot. But it's impossible to rely on the crystal of the second-level perfected immortal to exchange for 100,000 perfected immortal merit points. Fu Moyan's mind raced. If he could exchange for 100,000 true immortal merit points, he would have done it without any hesitation. Then, he would have exchanged them for 1 million true immortal merit points. At that time, he would be able to become a true immortal expert on the spot. But that wouldn't do. The crystals of a level 2 immortal were not enough for him to exchange for regulations. Thinking of this, Fu Moyan went through the memories in his mind again. Now that all players had received the exchange booklet from the Heavenly Court, the corresponding information was stored in their memories. It was just that he didn't read it often, so he couldn't recall too much. He opened the True Immortal Merit Points exchange page. Fu Moyan began to search for suitable items to exchange for. There weren't many things that could be exchanged with True Immortal Merit Points because there weren't many things that experts at this level needed. As such, on the True Immortal Merit Points page, there were only a few dozen items that could be exchanged. Ranked first was naturally the Heavenly Court's deity position. Then, there were some heavenly treasures that Fu Moyan had never heard of, some pills, and some formations that he had never heard of before. Insights of a Saint Realm Blacksmith, Insights of a Saint Realm Array Master, Insights of a Saint Realm Alchemist. Fu Moyan looked at the insights of the Saint Realm and then looked at the exchange value at the end. Fu Moyan felt stifled. All of them started at 100,000 true immortal merit points. In other words, with his current conditions, he could at most exchange for one of them. No, he couldn't even exchange for any of them. Saint Realm. I remember hearing someone say that it's the realm after the third realm. If you can break through to the Saint Realm, you can be considered a true immortal expert in disguise. It's just an insight. It's obvious how difficult it is to directly cultivate to a true immortal. If I had 100,000 true immortal merit points, I would probably use them to exchange for regulations. Fu Moyan shook his head slightly. To him, exchanging for these insights was useless. As for the other things like the Zhou Tian Great Star Formation and the 9 Transformation Golden Pill, they all started at a few 100,000 true immortal merit points, making people dizzy just by looking at them. In fact, he could even exchange for stars. Exchanging for stars? What's the use of it? Could it be that cultivating on stars will be faster? Fu Moyan complained helplessly. He realized the things that could be exchanged for with true immortal merit points weren't of much use to him. However, it wasn't completely useless. It was just that with tens of thousands of merit points, it was impossible to exchange for anything. But very soon, Fu Moyan's attention landed on the cultivation technique at the back. The upper part of the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture, the exchange price was 10,000 true immortal merit points. The middle part of the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture, the exchange price was 50,000 true immortal merit points. The lower part of the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture, the exchange price was 100,000 true immortal merit points. A cultivation technique. It was divided into 3 parts. The most basic ones were at least 10,000 true immortal merit points. Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture. Fu Moyan's eyes flickered. Something that could appear on the true immortal merit points exchange page was definitely a powerful cultivation technique. Otherwise, it would definitely not appear on it. The upper part of the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture requires 10,000 true immortal merit points. It should be a supreme cultivation technique that leads straight to the true immortal realm. If I can exchange for it, it won't be a loss. Fu Moyan was calculating the gains and losses. If players wanted to increase their strength, experience wasn't enough. They also needed a corresponding cultivation technique. The level of the cultivation technique had increased. Only then could one's realm correspondingly increase. Therefore, if he only had experience points and didn't have a cultivation technique, he could only look at it and not eat it. This was also the reason why Fu Moyan didn't consider directly absorbing the true immortal crystal in his hand. If there were no cultivation technique restrictions, he could directly absorb the true immortal crystal. Even if he didn't break through to the true immortal realm on the spot, he could at least break through to the 10th level of the Heaven Being realm. Looks like I have to exchange for merit points. Fu Moyan put the crystal into his storage ring, then pushed open the door and walked out. Exchange for merit points. Then, exchange for the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture. As for the remaining merit points, he would use them to exchange for crystals that could increase his strength with others. He believed, with the quality of the true immortal merit points, if he threw them out for exchange, even the cultivators of the myriad races would scramble for them. Because the true immortal merit points could only be obtained by killing true immortals. For the cultivators of the myriad races, there were only a few experts who had truly broken through to the true immortal realm. Moreover, breaking through to the true immortal realm didn't necessarily mean that one could kill the true immortal void demon. If they really fought, it was not certain who would win. If that was the case, the scarcity of the true immortal merit points could be imagined. Just as he walked out of the guest room, Fu Moyan's path was blocked by someone. There were dozens of players blocking the way. Among them were Lu Liang, Shen Wenyao, and the others. Shen Wenyao had already been resurrected once, and her broken arms had also been restored. However, the way she looked at Fu Moyan was filled with anger and resentment, as if she wanted to skin him alive. Conflicts are prohibited in the city. Are you looking down on the heavenly court? Facing the many players blocking his way, Fu Moyan wasn't afraid at all. He looked at them and sneered. The scene in front of him. He had expected it. Anyway, there were experts from the heavenly court in the city, so Fu Moyan wasn't afraid that anyone would dare to make a move without permission. Moreover, with his strength, he was also one of the top players. It wouldn't be easy to snatch the crystal from his hands. Lu Liang said coldly, "That crystal is the harvest of the team. It's not appropriate for you to take it all by yourself. Why don't you take it out and share it equally?" Share it equally? Are you awake? Fu Moyan looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot. With that, he directly walked out. No matter how many players blocked his way, he completely ignored them.
Suddenly,
Some players were knocked away. A good dog doesn't block the way. If you're not convinced, attack. I'll take all of them. Fu Moyan laughed arrogantly, his voice full of carefree. Some players wanted to attack, but considering the experts from the heavenly court in the city, they suppressed the impulse in their hearts. However, they didn't retreat. Someone said in a deep voice, Fu Moyan, are you going to stay in the city forever? We'll be waiting for you outside the city. There are so many people. How many can you waste? Why don't you just hand over the thing? Let's get rich peacefully, and don't ruin our relationship. Get lost. Facing such a threat, Fu Moyan's face turned cold, and he spat out a simple word. Hearing that, anger flashed across that player's face. Okay, I'll see how long you can last. His voice was filled with coldness. Fu Moyan had some reputation among the players, but it was of no use. If the news of him having a treasure leaked out, it was destined to be snatched by others. Those who surrounded him now were almost all the leaders or representatives of the various teams, and they all had a lot of connections and forces behind them. It could be said that the dozens of people now could involve thousands or tens of thousands of people behind them. With so many people, it wasn't difficult to surround Fu Moyan. Fu Moyan glanced at the crowd and walked directly to the Heavenly Court branch. He didn't care about the threats of these people at all. As long as he exchanged for the crystals and obtained the cultivation resources, he could at least become a heavenly being expert and not just an ordinary heavenly being expert. When that time came, it was wishful thinking for the players in front of him to want to deal with him. The place where Fu Moyan lived was some distance away from the Heavenly Court branch. Along the way, there were also many players who followed him openly. At this moment, the news of Fu Moyan obtaining the treasure crystal had almost spread out. Many people knew. The other party had at least one almighty-level crystal in his hands, and it was possible that it was even higher. If anyone could get the crystals, they would be able to save decades of hard work. Not only that, they could also become the first among all the players. Not many people could resist such a temptation. Someone wants to exchange for the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture? Qin Shujian's expression changed. He put the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture up casually, purely because he didn't want the true Immortal Merit Points page to be too empty. Experts who really broke through to the true immortal realm all had their own paths to walk, and they wouldn't exchange for such a cultivation technique. Cultivators below the true immortal realm. It was possible to cultivate the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture. However, the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture was expensive, and he deliberately divided it into 3 parts. If he wanted to exchange for the entire scripture, he would need 160,000 true immortal merit points. Such true immortal merit points could be exchanged for more than one deity position. Even if there were worthy juniors among the true immortals of the 10,000 races, they wouldn't spend more than 100,000 merit points to exchange for the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture. Without exchanging for the complete version of the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture, it was also impossible to exchange for a part of it. With merit points, wouldn't it be better to exchange for a deity position? There was no need to exchange for an incomplete cultivation technique. Qin Shujian couldn't figure out who was so rich and imposing to exchange for the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture. Reporting to the Emperor of Heaven, not long ago, a mutant exchanged a second-level Immortal's crystal for merit points, so he wants to exchange for the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture. The true Immortal bowed, then took out the crystal and handed it over with both hands. A second-level Immortal's crystal. Qin Shujian's heart skipped a beat. With a thought, he saw the crystal leave the other party's hand and fall directly in front of him. A second-level Immortal's crystal, player. Qin Shujian quickly thought of the true power that had appeared not long ago. With the strength of the current players, it was impossible to defeat a true immortal. Even if all the players attacked together, there was no way to kill a true immortal. At that level, one couldn't rely on numbers to win. Under the premise of numbers, one also needed to have a certain level of quality. Tens of billions of players. Even if they were all in the god martial arts realm, they wouldn't be able to deal with a true immortal. Unless there were tens of billions of celestials, then it was a different story. But I let you get a bargain. Qin Shujian's expression was subtle as he sat on the throne without moving, suppressing the players. This was what he had always done. Although the merit points exchange system was open now. In fact, the things that could be exchanged for in the god martial arts realm were all very poor, or rather, the price-performance ratio was very low. Even if they exchanged for it, it wouldn't be of much help to the players' prospects. There were many things. They were all displayed for the players to see, purely to trick them. The players who could really exchange for it, out of 100 million people, didn't know if one succeeded. This was like putting a carrot in front of a donkey. The donkey couldn't eat it, but it would be hooked by the carrot. Now, there were players who took advantage of it. To exchange for the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture was completely out of Qin Shujian's expectations. However, this extremely small probability had happened, and he didn't intend to go back on his word. No matter what,
He was just a player.
even if he gave the complete Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture to him, there wouldn't be any trouble, not to mention that this was not the complete Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture. I will deal with this matter. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You can leave. Yes, Emperor of Heaven. The genuine immortal bowed and left. In the sea of consciousness, Godslayer's doubtful voice sounded. Players also have the means to kill genuine immortals. It's impossible. The word player. He learned it from the conversation between Qin Shujian and Chu Kuangtu and the others. Godslayer didn't quite understand the meaning of the word player, but he felt that it was better than using the term mutant. It's not the players who killed it. It should be the Devil King who possessed the players, and then the Devil King was killed by the real power in the players. Qin Shujian shook his head and casually explained. Players didn't have the chance to kill the Devil King, but their real power could. Even the weakest real power was highly toxic to experts below the Tao Fruit realm. A mere Devil King dared to touch real power, without permission. That was no different from suicide. It was precisely because of how terrifying true strength was that only a portion of Tao fruits would survive every time the universe collapsed. As for those cultivators who weren't Tao fruits, even if they had the protection of experts, they still couldn't escape the fate of death. Let's go and take a look. Qin Shujian's body suddenly disappeared from the throne. At the Heaven and Earth Passage, a genuine immortal was guarding it. Emperor of Heaven.
Yes.
Qin Shujian nodded and directly stepped into the passage. On the other side, at the Heavenly Court branch, Fu Moyan stood there, waiting for the people from the Heavenly Court to arrive. In his hand, he was holding a jade talisman tightly.
Until now.
Fu Moyan's mind couldn't calm down. The merit points that he had actually exchanged were much more than he had expected. Originally, Fu Moyan thought that the crystal of a second-level immortal could only be exchanged for about 20,000 to 30,000 genuine immortal merit points. In the end, when he actually exchanged for it, only then did he realize. A crystal of a second-level immortal could be exchanged for 50,000 genuine immortal merit points. Now, while waiting for the experts from the Heavenly Court to arrive, Fu Moyan was silently calculating how he should use such a huge sum of money. 50,000 genuine immortal merit points. If he used it well, it was equivalent to a pig standing in the wind, ready to fly at any time. With so many resources thrown in, he would definitely be able to break through to a very high realm.
Suddenly.
Fu Moyan didn't know when, but he suddenly realized that a figure in a green robe had appeared in front of him. He instinctively raised his head and saw that familiar face. He was momentarily stunned.
Soon.
Fu Moyan reacted and hurriedly bowed. Greetings, Emperor of Heaven. You're the one who wants to exchange for the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture, right? Qin Shujian looked at Fu Moyan, and the corresponding memory surfaced in his mind. To be honest, if it was in the past, he wouldn't remember who Fu Moyan was at all. But now that he really met him, the memories of the past naturally emerged. At Qin Shujian's level, having a photographic memory was normal. Anything that he had experienced, as long as it was triggered, he could immediately recall it. Come with me. Qin Shujian turned and walked towards the second floor. Seeing this, Fu Moyan didn't dare to hesitate and hurriedly followed behind him. In the square, many people looked at Fu Moyan's back view with a strange expression, not knowing what he was talking about. In their opinion, Fu Moyan just bowed to the air, then said something and walked towards the second floor. One had to know. In the entire Heavenly Court branch, only the square on the first floor allowed anyone to enter and leave. However, the second level was guarded by experts. But what shocked these people was that when Fu Moyan walked up to the second floor, no experts stopped him at all. Seeing this, suddenly, some players' hearts moved, and they also walked towards the second floor. However, the moment these players stepped onto the second step, they were killed by a terrifying force. Immediately after, an indifferent voice came out from the mouth of the guarding expert. Without permission, anyone who steps in without permission dies. P.S. Requesting monthly votes. Chapter 759. On the second floor of the Heavenly Court branch. Compared to the spacious square on the first floor, the second floor was much narrower. It was just a simple living room. However, after stepping into the second level, Fu Moyan felt a mysterious ripple faintly appear around him, causing his originally agitated heart to completely calm down. Have a seat. In the living room, Qin Shujian sat in the main seat. Fu Moyan cupped his fists and replied, "Thank you, Heavenly Emperor." After saying that, he sat down on the chair. After so many years since the game started, the original contempt for the characters in the game had long disappeared. Facing the biggest boss in the eyes of the players, the current Emperor of Heaven, Fu Moyan didn't dare to cross the line. After all, if he really angered Qin Shujian, the other party had 100 ways to make him unable to survive in the boundless world.
No.
Not only would he be unable to survive, but he could also be wiped out. If he was wiped out in the game, then he was almost useless in reality. Everyone could improve their strength in the game and then affect reality, but he couldn't rely on the game to improve. As time passed, the gap would naturally widen. Once the gap was widened, it would be even more difficult to make up for it. Therefore, the Emperor of Heaven in front of him absolutely couldn't be offended. Once he offended him, he wouldn't be able to survive in a minute. The situation was stronger than the person no matter where it was. "Let me have a look at your jade talisman," Qin Shujian said. His gaze fell on Fu Moyan, giving the other party a lot of pressure. As for Fu Moyan, Qin Shujian didn't have a deep impression of him. When he was the leader of Liangshan's stronghold, he had killed many players. Fu Moyan didn't die many times in his hands, only 8 or 10 times. He didn't feel much about it. Hearing that, Fu Moyan immediately took out the jade talisman and then stood up, not knowing whether to hand it over or what to do. Qin Shujian simply waved his hand. The jade talisman left Fu Moyan's hand and flew towards him. Holding the jade talisman, Qin Shujian instantly received the information contained within the jade talisman. Then, he handed the jade talisman back. "Don't be shy, sit down."
Yes.
Fu Moyan felt like he didn't know what to say at all, so he could only follow her instructions and sit down. In front of the Emperor of Heaven. From the beginning to the end, he felt a great pressure. Regarding this, Fu Moyan could no longer connect Qin Shujian to the former bandit leader. The reason for that was because the disparity between the two was simply too great. "You want to exchange for the Purple Heaven Divine Lightning Scripture?" "That's right. I would like to exchange for the upper part of the Purple Heaven Divine Lightning Scripture." Fu Moyan nodded and replied. Qin Shujian nodded slightly, but did not reply immediately. The living room instantly fell silent. Fu Moyan looked at the expressionless Qin Shujian and didn't know what to say for a moment. He could only remain silent like the other party. Time slowly passed. Qin Shujian sat there motionless. A long time later, only then did he say calmly, "There is no problem with the exchange of the Purple Firmament Godly Thunder Scripture. According to the rules, The exchange of the upper part of the purple firmament godly thunder scripture requires 10,000 true immortal merit points. But you have to be clear that only when you get the complete purple heaven divine lightning scripture can you use it to break through to the true immortal realm. If you only exchange for the upper part, you can cultivate to the third level of the celestial being at most. The upper part is the third level of the celestial being, the middle part is the sixth level of the celestial being, and the lower part is the 10th level of the celestial being. When you reach perfection, you can naturally break through to the true immortal realm. The third level of the celestial being. Fu Moyan's expression changed. He thought that the purple heaven divine lightning scripture was a true immortal realm cultivation method on the true immortal merit points page. If it was only the upper part, not to mention cultivating to the true immortal realm, at least cultivating to the 7th level of the celestial being realm would not be a problem. But now, it sounded like that wasn't the case. Qin Shujian's words. It surprised Fu Moyan and completely disrupted his original plan. So, do you still have plans to exchange for it? Qin Shujian asked. Fu Moyan came back to his senses and hesitated for a moment. Can I consider it? Sure, I'll give you 2 hours. Qin Shujian didn't rush him. He simply waved his hand and a steaming teacup appeared on the table beside him. He held the teacup and tasted the tea, looking elegant and indifferent. At the side, Fu Moyan fell into deep thought. He was considering what Qin Shujian said. 10,000 true immortal merit points to exchange for a cultivation method that could only be cultivated to the third level of the celestial being realm. Under normal circumstances, 50,000 true immortal merit points was enough to cultivate to the almighty realm. If he exchanged for the purple heaven divine lightning scripture now, he could only break through to the third level of the celestial being realm. Logically speaking, Fu Moyan should leave directly. However, he had other concerns in his heart. Everything was expensive for a reason. Thinking of this, Fu Moyan asked, is the purple heaven divine lightning scripture different from other cultivation methods? Of course it's different. Qin Shujian smiled faintly and put down the teacup. 10,000 true immortal merit points is enough to exchange for a complete celestial cultivation method. But the purple heaven divine lightning scripture is different. If you can cultivate to the 7th level of the celestial being realm, you will have the initial strength of the celestial being realm. If you can cultivate to the peak of the celestial being realm, ordinary 2nd level immortals won't be your match. If you can become an immortal with this, even if you're a 1st level immortal, you'll be able to match an ordinary 4th level immortal. Even if you're only at the 3rd level of the celestial being realm, you'll be able to match an expert at the 6th level of the celestial being realm. Cultivation isn't just about what's in front of you. In the long run, it's better to seek the purple heaven divine lightning scripture. Hearing Qin Shujian's explanation, Fu Moyan finally understood why the purple heaven divine lightning scripture was so expensive. Celestial being realm. A 1st level immortal was comparable to a 4th level immortal. In this way, the other celestial cultivation methods couldn't be compared. However, with his current merit points, he could only exchange for the first part. If he wanted to gather enough merit points to exchange for the other 2 parts, it would obviously be very difficult. He wouldn't be so lucky to pick up a perfected immortal's crystal every time. If he didn't replenish his merit points, he might have to stay at the 3rd level of the celestial being realm for the rest of his life. Seeing Fu Moyan's hesitant expression, Qin Shujian said calmly, actually, it's not impossible for you to get the complete purple heaven divine lightning scripture. As long as you're willing to work for me, I can give you the complete purple heaven divine lightning scripture. After all, after you get the purple heaven divine lightning scripture, no one in the real world will be your match. Thus, Qin Shujian's words set off huge waves in Fu Moyan's heart. At this moment, his expression had completely changed. There was uncontrollable fear in his eyes as he looked at this Emperor of Heaven. That feeling, it made Fu Moyan have the urge to escape. The real world. The other party knew about the existence of the real world. This news was completely out of his expectations. It was like when he was playing a game and talking to an NPC, the NPC suddenly told him that he actually knew everything. This kind of feeling was simply too horrifying. Fu Moyan really wanted to escape, but he didn't dare to because he couldn't escape at all. It was just like facing that demon king. In front of such an existence, even suicide was a difficult thing to do, let alone escape. God, Emperor of Heaven, what do you mean by this? What do you mean? Fu Moyan stuttered as he spoke. He tried hard to calm himself down, but he couldn't do it at all. The faint smile on Qin Shujian's face had disappeared, and it was replaced by indifference. I know a lot of things. For example, I know that you came from the real world. For example, I know that you're actually called players. For example, I'm just an NPC, or a boss in your eyes. For example, why you players can't die. For example, how to completely kill you players. We are well aware of all these matters. A calm and indifferent voice. In Fu Moyan's ears, it was as cold as winter. He didn't know if what Qin Shujian said was true or false. If it was in the past, Fu Moyan would never believe that there was real death in the game. However, hearing such words from an NPC, he hesitated.
Players.
The real world. Completely killing players. When the three pieces of information were linked together, the credibility was very high. In an instant, Fu Moyan's body trembled, and the blood in his body froze. It was as if he would suffocate at any time. When he saw Qin Shujian's indifferent expression, he forced a smile on his face. I have no grievances with the Emperor of Heaven. Why would the Emperor of Heaven kill me? There are many killings without grievances. Just like how you players wantonly kill the creatures of this world. In the past, you didn't think so much. Killing is killing. In your eyes, this world is just an illusion, so any kind of slaughter is to be expected. Since you players can kill the creatures of this world, it's reasonable for me to kill you. Qin Shujian shook his head, and his expression was extremely indifferent. That emotionless tone made Fu Moyan's body tremble even more. They would die. They would really die. No one was unafraid of death. As long as there were enough benefits in the game, players wouldn't be afraid of death because they wouldn't really die. Once they really died, even if there were benefits in front of them, they would still be afraid. At this moment, Fu Moyan was already regretting it. He shouldn't have come to exchange for merit points. No, he shouldn't have exchanged for the Purple Heaven Divine Lightning Scripture. If he didn't exchange for the Purple Heaven Divine Lightning Scripture, why would the Emperor of Heaven be attracted here? If he didn't attract the Emperor of Heaven, he wouldn't have known such explosive news. This was the first time. Fu Moyan regretted knowing too much. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Qin Shujian saw that the effect was almost there. His expression softened a little, and it relieved some of the pressure on Fu Moyan. After all, you killed the Void Demon. To the Heavenly Court, you are a hero. Why would I do anything to you? Not only will I not kill you, but I will also give you a chance. A chance for you to reach the peak. I just don't know if you are willing to accept this mission. Mission? Fu Moyan was much calmer now. He also understood one thing. With Qin Shujian's strength, it would be easy for him to kill him. There was no need to waste so much time talking. Since the other party didn't do anything, then there was only one explanation. The other party didn't want to kill him, or he was still useful. Therefore, after hearing Qin Shujian's mission, Fu Moyan didn't immediately refuse, but he also didn't immediately agree. He was considering. Fu Moyan had a hunch. This mission might bring about a great change in his life. What is the mission that the Emperor of Heaven mentioned? What benefits can I get?
Fu Moyan asked.
The opportunity to reach the peak was too vague. What was the peak? Was it a heavenly being or a true immortal? What was the probability of grasping the so-called opportunity? For such a thing, he wanted to ask clearly. Qin Shujian asked, what do you think it should be like to reach the summit? While talking, he paused and asked, what is the cultivation level of the strongest person in the real world? If you become the strongest person in the real world, is it considered reaching the peak? If you become the strongest person, it is naturally considered reaching the peak. Fu Moyan's hands, which were folded in his sleeves, unconsciously clenched. the strongest person in the real world. He didn't know what the strength of the strongest person should be, but he could make some general guesses from the side details. Qin Shujian said, "The heavenly being is just the beginning, and the true immortal is just the beginning. The real peak is not as simple as you think. If you are willing to accept this mission, then I will give you a chance to break through to the realm above the true immortal realm, and even live forever. When that time comes, even if the sea turns into mulberry fields and mulberry seas, it still won't leave a single mark on your body." Huff, huff. Fu Moyan's breathing gradually became rapid. Live forever. Surviving through thousands of tribulations. He had never thought about these things. For Fu Moyan, the heavenly being and the true immortal were the highest levels he knew. As for the higher realms, it was not something a small god martial arts realm player could understand. A moment later, Fu Moyan forced himself to calm down, swallowed his saliva, and asked, "There are so many players. Why did the Emperor of Heaven look for me alone?" "Because you're lucky." "Lucky?" Fu Moyan was stunned. That was a reason? Qin Shujian nodded and said, "Luck is very important. You were lucky to be able to get the crystal of a level 2 immortal when you were in the god martial arts realm. In addition, you were able to successfully exchange the crystal and stand in front of me. I didn't kill you, so your luck was even better. So, I will give you a chance. It was a chance to live a long life. If you refuse, then I will find someone else, because your good luck has been used up." It had to be said. Qin Shujian's explanation was very powerful. Although it sounded a little far-fetched, Fu Moyan could understand it. He was sure. Once he refused, the other party would make a move to kill him. The so-called good luck was used up, and it was also a disguised threat. After a while, Fu Moyan seemed to have made a decision. He took a deep breath, and his gaze fell on Qin Shujian again. "What can I do for the Emperor of Heaven?" "It's very simple. I will provide you with cultivation methods and resources. In exchange, you need to help me kill some people in the real world. The Emperor of Heaven also has enemies." Fu Moyan was stunned for a moment. Then he asked in confusion, "If the Emperor of Heaven can kill players completely, then he can do it directly in the boundless world. Why do you need me to do it for him?" Could it be? The other party couldn't really kill players, so what he said before was just to scare him. Qin Shujian saw the suspicion in his heart, but his expression was calm. "There are some things that I can't do. This involves the secret between the two worlds. I want to kill a lot of people. If I act recklessly, it will cause some changes. It's not a problem to kill a few people, but that won't be of much use. So, I need you to do it. As my sword, I will give you a chance to live forever in the future."
To this,
Fu Moyan was half convinced. After pondering for a moment, he asked again, "Can I ask why the Emperor of Heaven wants me to do this? You just talked about the secret between the two worlds. What kind of secrets are there?" "Of course, I'm just curious. If the Emperor of Heaven thinks you can say it, then say it. If you can't say it, I understand." In the guest hall, Qin Shujian looked at him deeply, then said calmly, "This is a matter of the heavenly Tao. You don't have the qualifications to participate now. If you help me kill some people, I will give you the corresponding benefits. After all, in the real world, everyone can enter the boundless world. If you want to stand out among so many players, the possibility is very small. Moreover, the realms after the celestial being aren't as simple as you think. They can't be directly increased with experience points. The stronger the people in the real world are, the less peaceful it will be. If your strength isn't enough, you might not be able to hold on until then. You will completely fall under the rolling tide. Don't say that I'm an alarmist. There should be a lot of changes in the real world. The chaos is rising. As long as you're smart, you can see that. You don't have to think too much.
You are useful to me.
At the same time, I can give you the benefits you want. Naturally, the cooperation will be achieved. Moreover, I can see that you are not the kind of person who is righteous. So, what if you are a world traitor? What's more, our goal is not to destroy your side. That level of competition will not affect you. Don't worry." World traitor. Fu Moyan's mouth twitched twice. This was the first time he heard of this word. But after thinking about it seriously, if the game world and the real world were two equal worlds, if he accepted the mission, there would be no difference between him and a world traitor. Could it be that the Emperor of Heaven is very good at judging people? I don't know if I'm good at judging people, but I won't be wrong. Qin Shujian smiled meaningfully. Immediately, the smile disappeared. I'll give you 15 minutes to consider. Do you want to work for me and have the opportunity to live forever, or return to the group of players and become a wave of tens of billions of players that can be drowned at any time? The choice is up to you. After Qin Shujian finished speaking, he casually picked up the teacup by the side. Seeing this, Fu Moyan also fell into deep thought. But just as Qin Shujian said, righteousness was not important to him. The so-called righteousness. There were not enough benefits to come. I'll accept this mission. Chapter 760. Very good. Qin Shujian smiled slightly. With a flip of his hand, something that looked like a jade stone suddenly appeared in his palm. After the jade stone appeared, it was held by an invisible big hand and landed in front of Fu Moyan. Seeing this, Fu Moyan reached out and caught the jade stone. It felt warm in his hand. This thing is called Tianyu. It is a treasure that I personally refined. You can take it into your sea of consciousness and bring it into the real world. Whenever there is a target to kill, Tianyu will give a reaction. At that time, you just need to act according to the instructions given by Tianyu. While talking, Qin Shujian paused for a moment and said, remember, Tianyu can't be taken out of your sea of consciousness, especially when you return to the real world. Otherwise, you will be sensed by the existence in the real world. With your strength, in front of that existence, even an ant is not enough. Even a simple thought from such an existence could easily wipe you out. At the same time, Tianyu is also a bridge for me to communicate with you. If you betray me, Tianyu will directly take your life. After all, I don't see people 100% accurately, but I can completely erase them when I see the wrong person.
To put it simply,
Tianyu was equivalent to a monitor, monitoring Fu Moyan's every move. Qin Shujian wouldn't be so naive to think that it was just a simple deal and the other party would really work for him wholeheartedly. To ensure that there would be no problems, a certain amount of protection was still necessary. On the side, Fu Moyan held the crystal in his hand, but his expression was somewhat subtle. Not everyone could get used to having a time bomb in their mind, but he refused. It was also impossible. In the end, he obediently put Tianyu into a sea of consciousness. From the moment he entered the living room, Fu Moyan knew that there was no way out for him. Either cooperate obediently, otherwise it would be a dead end. After seeing him put Tianyu into a sea of consciousness, Qin Shujian also showed a gentle smile. Actually, you don't have to worry. Tianyu surveillance is only one of its functions. Its biggest function is to find the target and communicate with you and me. In this universe, you have my heavenly jade, so I can protect you from death to a large extent. Even in the real world, when necessary, Tianyu could still be of use. However, if it really came to that point, you might have to leave the real world for good. Because if you use the heavenly jade, the existences in the real world will definitely discover you. At that time, as long as you come back as soon as possible, I can save your life. Hearing this, Fu Moyan's chest heaved violently. He finally understood. The so-called Tianyu was a double-edged sword. If he didn't use it well, Tianyu would take his life. If he used it well and had Tianyu, it was equivalent to having an extra life or real life. Fu Moyan subconsciously sensed Tianyu in his consciousness and then said, Emperor of Heaven, don't worry. Since I've already accepted the mission, there's no possibility of me going back on my word. That would be for the best. Qin Shujian nodded. Then, he raised his hand and a stream of light entered Fu Moyan's mind. Immediately, an unfamiliar memory surged. As a reward, I'll teach you the upper part of the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture for free. As for the middle and lower parts of the scripture, I'll teach them to you when the time is right. In addition, The Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture is different from other cultivation methods. If you want to improve, every level needs heavenly thunder to temper your body. Only by surviving the thunder tribulation can you safely advance. If you can't, you'll die under the thunder tribulation. Therefore, for every level you advance, you'll need to prepare a large amount of body-tempering resources to temper your physical body to the extreme. Or, you can simply cultivate a few body-tempering martial arts to improve your physical body. When you can't improve anymore, you'll attract the heavenly tribulation. That's the safest way. 60,000 perfected immortal merit points should be enough for you to cultivate the upper part of the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture properly. Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture. Qin Shujian didn't directly give Fu Moyan the complete one because there was no need. If the other party was a mighty figure above the 7th level of the celestial being, then he would directly use the complete Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture as bait. After all, at that level, the incomplete Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture would hardly be of any use. But Fu Moyan was different. The other party was only a mid-stage Divine Martial Realm player. Just the incomplete Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture alone was enough to make the other party go crazy. The remaining part, when it was suitable in the future, he would naturally give it to the other party. Anyway, for Qin Shujian, the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture was only one of the top cultivation methods in his memories of the Third Era. It wasn't to the point where he couldn't give it up. After digesting the memories in his mind, Fu Moyan immediately looked at his attribute panel. Indeed, the words Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture appeared on it. The Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture. Before the celestial being level, you'll lay the foundation. You can cultivate without worry. However, when you break through to the celestial being level, the heavenly tribulation will descend for every level. When you return to the real world, the corresponding missions will appear in the heavenly jade. Each mission will have a corresponding reward. When you complete enough missions, you'll be able to obtain the subsequent cultivation methods. Remember, the celestial being is just the beginning. The true immortal is just the next level. Although the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture is powerful, it's only enough for one to break through to the true immortal level. Cooperate with me, you'll naturally discover the benefits in the future. I'll be waiting for your good news. Don't make a mistake. After giving another warning, Qin Shujian's body dissipated like smoke, disappearing without a trace. Fu Moyan was the only one left in the huge living room. He looked at the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder scripture on his attribute panel. Then, he looked at the heavenly jade lying quietly in the depths of his mind. For a moment, Fu Moyan didn't move. In a short period of time, the things that happened one after another were completely beyond his tolerance. I just wanted to exchange for a cultivation method. I didn't expect that such a thing would happen to me. Fu Moyan felt that life was a little surreal. But soon, he came back to his senses, and his face turned red. He accepted the mission. To a certain extent, he was one of the Emperor of Heaven's people. In the boundless world, the heavenly court reigned supreme. He had the heavenly court behind him. What right did the other players have to compete with him? Even if this mission was done in secret and his relationship with the heavenly court couldn't be made public, Fu Moyan believed that the Emperor of Heaven would definitely give him some convenience. There was nothing more to say. Even the slightest benefit could make him stand out among the players. If there was a price, it was inexplicably becoming a world trader.
To this,
Fu Moyan was just a little disgusted at first, but after thinking about it carefully, he felt relieved. A world trader, so be it. Not everyone is qualified to be a world trader. Anyway, as long as I get the benefits, the Emperor of Heaven won't kick me to the curb. Thinking of kicking me to the curb, Fu Moyan's heart thumped a few times. However, it wasn't his turn to think so far ahead. As long as he was useful enough, the Emperor of Heaven had no reason to expose him. Besides, when he got the benefits and increased his strength, he would have a certain right to speak and take the initiative. At any time, strength was the most important thing. As long as he was strong enough, everything was not a problem. After a long time, Fu Moyan came back to his senses from his deep thoughts. In this mission cooperation, He first obtained the upper part of the purple heaven divine thunder scripture. Not only did he save 10,000 true immortal merit points, but he also had the cultivation method to cultivate to the third level of the celestial being. According to Qin Shujian, as long as he cultivated the upper part of the purple heaven divine thunder scripture to perfection, he would be able to fight against a sixth level celestial being. In this case, Fu Moyan didn't have too many doubts. Strictly speaking, it's a good thing to save 10,000 true immortal merit points. If it's 60,000 true immortal merit points, it shouldn't be a problem to exchange some of them for experience stones. As for the remaining true immortal merit points, I can use them to exchange for other resources.
Suddenly,
Fu Moyan's attention fell on his attribute panel. He saw that his original main cultivation method had disappeared. The moment the cultivation method disappeared, his aura also fell rapidly from the 6th level of the Divine Martial Realm to the 5th level of the Divine Martial Realm, then the 4th level of the Divine Martial Realm, in a few breaths. Fu Moyan completely fell to the 1st level of the Divine Martial Realm and returned to the initial 0 level of the Divine Martial Realm. The cultivation method was abolished. A sense of powerlessness welled up in his heart. It was tense. Fu Moyan had another thought. After abolishing the cultivation method, the extra experience points were directly added to the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture. The 1st level of the Martial Realm, the 2nd level of the Martial Realm, the 10th level of the Martial Realm. In a breath, the Martial Realm was cultivated to perfection. Immediately after, the aura on his body shook and he directly broke into the true Martial Realm. Another breath. The complete true Martial Realm directly broke into the Spirit Martial Realm, and then into the Divine Martial Realm. However, when he just stepped into the 1st level of the Divine Martial Realm, all the experience points were used up, and there was no way to increase it anymore. He silently felt the power in his body. Fu Moyan's eyes lit up. A normal cultivation method of the 6th level of the Divine Martial Realm can only raise the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture to the 1st level of the Divine Martial Realm. But in terms of strength, I feel that it's not weaker than the middle level of the Divine Martial Realm. The 1st level of the Divine Martial Realm. It was comparable to a normal middle level of the Divine Martial Realm. Even if it couldn't be compared to the original 6th level of the Divine Martial Realm, it was comparable to the 4th or 5th level of the Divine Martial Realm. And this. It was only the 1st level of the Divine Martial Realm. If he raised the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture to his original level, then his strength would definitely be comparable to a peak Divine Martial Realm expert. As for whether he could surpass the peak of the Divine Martial Realm and be comparable to the Celestial Realm, that was not certain. But even so, for Fu Moyan it was completely enough. After cultivating the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture, it seemed that his strength had been weakened. But the comparison of realms wasn't calculated like that. When he just started from the beginning, his strength had indeed weakened a little. But looking at the later stages, the benefits of cultivating the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture gradually appeared. In the simplest way, a player who cultivated the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture and a player who cultivated a normal cultivation method were both stuck at the peak of the Divine Martial Realm. The former didn't break through to the Celestial Realm. The latter didn't have a cultivation method to break through to the Celestial Realm. Once the experience points were full, it was impossible to increase it again. In this way, a player who cultivated the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture could completely suppress a player who cultivated a normal cultivation method. More importantly, abolishing the cultivation method and cultivating again wasn't a 100% conversion.
there was still a certain amount of loss.
In other words, according to the original experience of the 6th level of the Divine Martial Realm, under normal circumstances, the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture could be raised to the 2nd or 3rd level of the Divine Martial Realm. At that time, in terms of true strength, it wouldn't be much weaker than him at the 6th level of the Divine Martial Realm. It might even be a little stronger. According to what the Emperor of Heaven said, the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture will only experience the heavenly tribulation after breaking through to the celestial realm. In other words, This cultivation method can only gradually display its power after reaching the celestial realm. The most important thing now is to raise the purple heaven divine thunder scripture. Fu Moyan got up from his seat and left the living room. He was now only at the first level of the divine martial realm. There was no need to think so much for now. First, he needed to exchange for enough experience stones to raise his realm to the peak of the divine martial realm. Then, according to what Qin Shujian said, he would collect some body-forging martial arts to raise his physique. In this way, his strength would be able to make a qualitative leap in a short period of time. He collected his thoughts. Fu Moyan came down from the second floor. The players waiting there still hadn't left. To these players, he acted as if he didn't see them. Instead, he walked to the center of the square and shouted, "True immortal merit points to exchange for celestial realm and divine martial realm crystals. Those who are willing to exchange, please contact me." Instantly, the square fell silent. Everyone's eyes involuntarily fell on Fu Moyan. The words, "true immortal merit points," just now made many people's hearts tremble. True immortal merit points. That fallen void fiend was a true immortal level fiend king. Lu Liang felt that his breathing had slowed down by a few beats. Then, endless regret surged into his heart. True immortal crystal. That was a true immortal crystal. If he got his hands on it, he would definitely soar into the sky. None of the players in the four great worlds would be his match.
But now,
the true immortal crystal had fallen into Fu Moyan's hands. That feeling made Lu Liang feel like he had lost everything. It wasn't just Lu Liang who looked like he had lost his parents. Even the expressions of the other players were extremely ugly. Damn it, he got the true immortal merit points. What should we do now? If it's the true immortal merit points, Fu Moyan is now a pig in the wind. He can fly at any time. These players were all shocked. They were both tempted and scared. Once Fu Moyan converted the true immortal merit points, his strength would definitely rise to a terrifying level. When that time came, with their current strength, they might not be able to deal with it. The faces of those players' leaders were extremely gloomy at this moment. The value of the treasure in the other party's hands was beyond their imagination. If it was the celestial crystal, it would be fine. Even if Fu Moyan completely absorbed it, although the increase in his strength would not be low, they would still be able to deal with it. But the true immortal crystal was completely beyond their expectations. Because the true immortal crystal was enough to raise a player's strength to a level that was difficult to contend with. In other words, if the crystal in Fu Moyan's hands was really of the true immortal level, then their future days would be difficult. Instantly, some people's gazes towards Lu Liang and the others had already become unfriendly. If the other party had not made things clear and instigated them to snatch the crystal without permission, they would not have offended Fu Moyan. Feeling the unfriendly gazes around them, Lu Liang, Shen Wenyao, and the others' faces were ugly. They finally understood that these people were frightened by Fu Moyan and then wrongly blamed them for this matter. Regarding this scene, Lu Liang did not explain anything. He only took a deep look at Fu Moyan, then glanced at the others, and directly left the Heavenly Court branch. They could not afford to offend him. Then they would change places. Anyway, the Greater Thousand World was as big as the Outer Realm Void. These players could not block them. Moreover, Lu Liang was very confident in his own strength. No matter what, he was also an array master and an expert of the god martial arts realm. Among the players at this stage, Lu Liang's strength, even if it was not the top, was not far from it. Seeing Lu Liang leave, some people's eyes flickered and also quietly left the Heavenly Court branch. In the center of the square, Fu Moyan looked at their backs and secretly sneered in his heart. But he did not do anything out of line. We'll settle this matter slowly after I've improved my strength. As for now, While thinking in his heart, Fu Moyan spoke again. I wonder if any friends want to exchange true immortal merit points for god martial arts and heaven realm crystals. Do you really have true immortal merit points? Zhu Chen, who had just returned from the void, looked at Fu Moyan in front of him and could not help but raise his eyebrows. True immortal merit points. that could only be obtained by killing a true immortal and obtaining a true immortal crystal. In his opinion, the person in front of him was only a god martial arts realm mutant. What right did he have to obtain a true immortal crystal? However, the other party dared to shout here. It was impossible to say that he did not have any confidence at all. Therefore, Zhu Qin asked with a tentative attitude. Hearing this, Fu Moyan immediately smiled and said, "Senior, you must be joking. If I didn't have true immortal merit points, I wouldn't dare to shout here. I have true immortal merit points, but I wonder what Senior will exchange for them? What a coincidence. I also have a lot of crystals from the god martial arts realm. How many true immortal merit points do you have?" Zhu Qin raised his eyebrows and asked instead of answering. Fu Moyan sized up Zhu Qin seriously. He was sure that he did not know the other party, but just by looking at the aura that the other party exuded and the temperament of his every move, he was not something that ordinary experts of the myriad races could compare to. Thinking of this, Fu Moyan cupped his hands and said, "Senior, if you really want to make a deal, why don't you and I change to a quiet place?" "Sure. Senior, follow me." Fu Moyan took the lead and walked out of the Heavenly Court branch. Zhu Qin did not hesitate and followed behind him to leave. Some people originally wanted to ask, but in the end, they did not have the chance to speak. They could only beat their chests and sigh, lamenting that they had missed an opportunity. P.S. I beg for monthly votes. Chapter 761. After returning from the extraterritorial battlefield, Qin Shujian did not return to the Heavenly Court. Instead, he headed towards the extraterritorial void. The reason why he returned from the extraterritorial void was because the investiture of the gods could not fit any more stars. Since he had come to the extraterritorial battlefield, there was no need to return to the Heavenly Court directly. Therefore, he simply headed to the extraterritorial void again to find more stars, as well as the star core to refine Zhou Tian's star map. In the void, Qin Shujian walked with his hands behind his back. With every step he took, endless space flowed. Behind him, Godslayer transformed and followed. Emperor of Heaven, is it possible that person will go back on his word? The person he was talking about was naturally Fu Moyan. To the players, Godslayer instinctively had some distrust. Qin Shujian had a faint smile on his face as he continued walking. Don't worry, since he has accepted this mission, there is no possibility of him betraying. At least before he gets the benefits he wants, he won't easily betray. I left Tianyu in his sea of consciousness, and also left behind a backup plan. If he really betrays, Tianyu will take his life immediately. After saying that, Qin Shujian silently added in his heart, even if Fu Moyan really betrayed him, it wouldn't affect him at all.
To be direct,
Fu Moyan was a chess piece that he had placed in the real world. The other party's main function was to weaken the power of the real world. The strength of a world's heavenly Tao had a lot to do with the living beings of heaven and earth. The stronger the living beings, the stronger the heaven and earth would be. As a result, the power that the heavenly Tao could use would become stronger and stronger. This point, it was only after Qin Shujian had opened up his inner world that he suddenly came to this realization. Therefore, if he could wipe out all the players who entered the boundless world, then the heavenly Tao of the four-player worlds would be weakened to the extreme. But one thing was clear. Even if the heavenly Tao was weakened to the extreme, it was not something that the current boundless world could contend against.
on the contrary,
If he directly attacked and killed all the players, it would arouse the anger of the heavenly Tao. At that time, under a large-scale attack, the destruction of the universe would only be a matter of an instant. Therefore, directly attacking was not advisable. They could only use other methods to weaken the power of the heavenly Tao step by step. At the same time, he could not let the heavenly Tao notice anything. As long as he could stall for as long as possible, the boundless world would become more integrated with the four-player worlds.
you have to understand.
The four-player worlds were invading and swallowing the thousands of worlds, and even the entire universe. But at the same time as the invasion, The great wide world, and even the entire universe, was silently absorbing the power of the four-player worlds to complete a transformation. However, this transformation was very slow. Normally speaking, it was unrealistic to rely on this transformation to contend against the player world. It was also because of this. The world of players had nothing to fear, and they dared to start from the greater thousand worlds and gradually devour the universe. What Qin Shu Jian wanted to do. When the great thousand worlds were transforming, they would inadvertently weaken the power of the player's world. When the time was right, they would launch the final counterattack. This idea had come to him on the spur of the moment. After seeing Fu Moyan, he became a pawn for the heavenly court to enter the real world. Qin Shu Jian was not worried that the other party would betray him. To be honest, Fu Moyan had no reason to betray him. If he took 10,000 steps back, if Fu Moyan really betrayed him, then at most he would lose this pawn, but it would not affect him too much, because the connection between him and the other party lay in the heavenly jade. At that time, as long as the heavenly jade was destroyed, there would not be any problems. At the same time, the heavenly jade was also sealed by Qin Shu Jian with a special method and hidden in Fu Moyan's sea of consciousness. As long as the other party was not in the real world and publicly took out the heavenly jade, there would not be any problems. If he really took it out, the heavenly jade would be destroyed the moment the heavenly Tao noticed. But at the same time, Fu Moyan would also be killed by the heavenly Tao when the heavenly jade was destroyed. The final result. Qin Shu Jian had already thought about it. Therefore, he was not worried that Fu Moyan would betray him. It should be said, even if he betrayed him, he would not suffer any losses. There are a total of 4-player worlds invading the greater thousand worlds. Since I want to leave a pawn, I can't be biased. I have to find an opportunity for the other 3-player worlds. With tens of billions of players, it shouldn't be difficult to find a few world traders. But these world traders can't be too stupid, and their luck can't be too bad. It will take some time. Qin Shu Jian thought to himself. With tens of billions of players, it was normal for a few traders to appear. But not every trader was suitable to be his pawn. If he was too stupid, he might end up ruining his plans instead. After having an idea in his mind, Qin Shu Jian did not stop walking. Then his gaze fell on the surrounding void. Now was not the time to go back. Since he had come from the outer realm, he had to take something with him before leaving. Deep in the outer realm, there was a long river of rules surging. A damaged monument was slowly repairing the cracks in it. And above the long river of rules, there were also endless black shadows creeping, rendering that place into a demonic domain. The rule monument is damaged. It won't be easy to repair it. The boundless darkness surged, and suddenly, a person's figure appeared at the center of it all. At this moment, Bok's face was unprecedentedly gloomy. After breaking through to become a top-tier demon emperor, he had never suffered such a crushing defeat in more than 1,000,000 years. Even when he faced the ancient heavenly court, he was only defeated. He did not fall to the extent that the rule monument was damaged. But in the battle not long ago, it directly damaged the rule monument, causing it to almost fall to the level of a top-tier demon emperor. Such a heavy blow made Bok very angry. But in addition to his anger, he was also shocked, especially when Qin Shu Jian used the absolute command. That terrifying power made it difficult for Bok to calm down. The demon abyss is approaching. I don't have much time left. The rule monument is damaged. If I want to repair it normally, it will take at least 10,000 years. That's too long. But if the rule monument is not repaired, with my current strength, I won't be able to deal with him. Looks like I can only use some extreme methods. Bok's expression kept changing. The surrounding void also became restless. A top-tier demon emperor. Even if it was a change in mood, it could cause a disturbance in the void. Immediately after, an invisible wave spread out from the darkness and quickly spread out. Not long after, the void crumbled. 3 demon emperors appeared from within. Greetings, Lord Demon Emperor. These 3 demon emperors were all the emperors of the Bok clan. They were also the ones in charge other than the demon emperor. Bach said coldly, "This emperor needs the flesh and blood of living creatures. There must be enough of them, or they must be strong enough. This emperor wants to see enough flesh and blood of living creatures within 10 years. If there isn't any by then you will become this emperor's sacrifices." Cold words. It made the demon emperors tremble uncontrollably. "Lord Demon Emperor, don't worry. We will definitely collect enough flesh and blood of living creatures for you." They believed. Bach's words were not just empty words. When the time came, if they did not collect enough flesh and blood of living creatures, then they would become this demon emperor's sacrifices. Although the demon emperors seemed to be high and mighty. In fact, in front of the demon emperor, they were just ants. If the other party really wanted to attack them, even if they joined forces, they would not be able to contend against him. "Go. This emperor will wait for your news." After Bach finished speaking, his illusory body disappeared. Endless darkness crept. The long river of laws was also faintly discernible. The demon emperors looked at each other and then respectfully retreated. A floating continent. This was the place where the Bach clan was located. "Lord Demon Emperor has ordered us to plunder enough flesh and blood of living creatures. Right now, apart from the void beasts, only the upper-class world can meet this demand." Demon Emperor Chester said slowly, with an indifferent expression. On his left and right were the other two demon emperors. As soon as he finished speaking, one of the demon emperors said, "If we attack the upper-class world, I'm afraid the clan will suffer a great loss. The loss of our clansmen is nothing. It's their honor to be able to sacrifice themselves for the demon emperor's orders. If we can't plunder enough flesh and blood of living creatures, then the ones who will sacrifice themselves for the demon emperor will be us." Chester said coldly. No matter how many of the Bach clan's clansmen died, it had nothing to do with him. Although he was the demon emperor of the clan, the true ruler of the clan was the demon emperor Bach. If there was not enough flesh and blood of living creatures, when the demon emperor was angry, even the demon emperors would die. "What are your plans?" "Join forces with the other clans and attack the upper-class world together. The other two clans may not agree. If they don't agree, then we'll attack alone. Anyway, the purpose of this time is not to conquer the upper-class world. It's enough as long as we plunder the flesh and blood of living creatures. The living creatures of the upper-class world have also set up a defense line in the void. We don't need to attack the upper-class world. As long as we fight in the void, I think we'll be able to get enough flesh and blood of living creatures." Chester looked at the two demon emperors with a cold expression and said indifferently. Seeing this, the other two demon emperors no longer objected. As long as they were not the ones who died, it was enough. As for how many clansmen died when the war started, it did not matter to them. The evil demon clan in the void. There were no extra emotions. There was only a strict division of ranks.
Soon,
the corresponding information was transmitted to the other two clans. "Join forces to attack the upper-class world?" Yelvis frowned slightly. He was a little confused about the news from the Bach clan.
Well,
Why did the Bach clan want to attack the upper-class world? In his opinion, even if the three clans joined forces to attack the upper-class world, they had no chance of winning. However, being cautious, Yelvis did not immediately refuse. Instead, he looked at the emissary below and said faintly, "Ben Huang needs to consider this matter. You can stay in the Mo Xylo clan for the time being. Ben Huang will give you an answer within 3 days." "Thank you, Demon Emperor." The Demon King of the Bajero clan bowed respectfully, his tone filled with respect. Yelvis waved his hand, and the other party tactfully left. After he left, Longfellow looked puzzled. Are Chester and the others crazy? Why are they attacking the upper-class world? Attacking the upper-class world. In his opinion, such an approach was no different from being retarded. Yelvis sneered. What right does Chester have to make the decision to attack the upper-class world? This matter concerns the direction of the clan. The only one who is truly qualified to make the decision is that person. You mean the Demon Emperor? Longfellow also reacted instantly. That's right. Although the status of the Demon Emperor was high, he could not make such a decision on his own. Although it was ridiculous. In fact, the Demon Emperor did not have the right to control the direction of a clan. Most of the time, they were like the puppets of the Demon Emperor, maintaining the normal operation of the clan when the Demon Emperor was in seclusion. As for other things, they all needed to ask the Demon Emperor. Ylvis said, I need to ask the Demon Emperor about this matter. Since the Demon Emperor wants to attack the upper-class world, there must be some unknown reasons. For us, this might be an opportunity. I'll wait for you in the clan, Longfellow said directly. If there was no need, he did not want to get close to Xylo. If the Demon Emperor was in a bad mood, the Demon Emperor would be courting death. Ylvis glanced at him and did not force him. The black fog on the seat dissipated, and it did not take long for it to completely disappear. In the depths of the outer realm, the black fog shattered the void and stood there. Then, Ylvis's figure appeared. He looked at the darkness in front of him and bowed respectfully. Demon Emperor, I have something to ask to see you. As soon as he finished speaking, the darkness shook slightly. A corner of his aura leaked out, causing Ylvis's body to tremble slightly. What's the matter?
Speak.
Xylo's indifferent voice came from the darkness. Hearing this, Ylvis did not dare to hesitate and replied respectfully. Just now, an envoy from the Baido clan came, hoping to unite all the clans and attack the upper-class world together. This matter is of great importance. I dare not make a decision on my own, so I came to ask the Demon Emperor. Attack the upper-class world? Xylo murmured softly to himself. Immediately, some fluctuations came from the darkness, causing the surrounding aura to fluctuate even more violently. Promise him. Yes. In addition, when attacking the upper-class world, collect all the flesh and blood of the creatures killed and then offer them to me. Yes, sir. From the beginning to the end, your ways had been bowing. When the voice in the darkness was completely silent, he slowly retreated. The void shattered. Ylvis had completely disappeared in front of the darkness. The next moment, he appeared in a completely unfamiliar void. The trembling of his body and the fear on his face had disappeared at this moment. It was just a calm expression and a slight smile. Collecting the flesh and blood of creatures, it seems that you have suffered a serious injury and need the flesh and blood of creatures to recover. If the Baido clan did this, no one would be spared from that battle. So now, how much strength do you have left? It really makes Ben Huang a little curious. The smile on Ylvis's lips became more and more obvious. It was a simple contact. He basically knew the reason why those demon emperors wanted to attack the upper-class world. Soon, in a little more time, Ben Huang will be able to officially break through to the Demon Emperor realm. Thinking of something, a cold light appeared in Ylvis's eyes, and then it disappeared. In the end, he disappeared into the void. Before breaking through to the Demon Emperor realm, no matter how many ideas and schemes he had, they were all fake. It was also when Ylvis left. The darkness surged. Then, all the darkness faded, and Xylo's figure appeared. Attacking the upper-class world, you want to plunder the flesh and blood of creatures, right? Such an impatient approach. Your injuries are more serious than I thought. The darkness in Xylo's eyes had become even deeper. Plundering the flesh and blood of creatures. This was the fastest way to recover from injuries. Even if the rule monument was damaged, as long as there was enough flesh and blood of creatures, there was a way to repair it. Back in the beginning, Xylo had thought of using the flesh and blood of creatures to repair his injuries. However, he did not take the lead to speak. Once someone spoke, to a large extent, it proved that their injuries were the most serious. Although the clans had joined forces, they were not really standing on the same boat. There was no need to reveal his trump card too early. Now that Baido could not wait, Xylo also pushed the boat with a current, mobilizing the power of the clan to attack the upper-class world together. All of a sudden, a meaningful smile appeared on Xylo's face. A moment later, his body dissipated and darkness crept again. At the same time, the long river of laws loomed, and a broken rule monument was slowly repairing the cracks on it. After asking the Demon Emperor for permission, when Yelvis returned to the clan, he immediately informed the messenger of the Baido clan of the results. Then, the entire Mo Xialo clan also moved. Not long after, a large number of void demons gathered and headed towards the upper-class world. When the Mo Xialo clan moved out, the Baido clan and the Yizo clan each had their own allied forces. The allied forces of the three clans, a total of 10 billion void demons, moved out. A large number of void demons gathered together, forming a boundless darkness that covered the entire void. The cultivators and players of the myriad clans who were exploring the outer realm also noticed the abnormality of the void demons at the first moment. Not good, the void demons have moved out on a large scale. Run. Why did they suddenly move out on a large scale? Are they going to start a war again? Those cultivators and players of the myriad clans who encountered the army were now in shock and panic. For a time, many cultivators died. But there were also more cultivators who immediately fled to the back of the outer realm battlefield after noticing the abnormality. Just as the cultivators were about to flee, the news of the Void Fiend's large-scale invasion also officially spread. After receiving the news, the Heavenly Court immediately entered a state of preparation for war. The powerhouses of the myriad clans all walked out of the upper-class world and settled in the various cities of the outer realm battlefield. All the cultivators who went out to explore had also all returned at this moment. In an instant, the atmosphere of the outer realm battlefield was extremely solemn. P.S. 10,000 words per day is actually not a small amount. I hope more support. Chapter 762. In the extraterritorial battlefield. In the city at the front line, the gods of the Heavenly Court gathered. The aura of the perfected immortals did not spread out deliberately, but a large number of powerhouses gathered together could put the void under a lot of pressure. Is there any news about the Emperor of Heaven? Emperor Zhao looked at the other gods and asked. Hearing this, the gods shook their heads. The Demon Emperor said, "We have already sent out the message. If the Emperor of Heaven is in the Great Thousand World, there will definitely be a reply. Now that there is no reply, he must be in the extraterritorial void. Now that the army of the evil demon clan is coming, the Emperor of Heaven should be able to sense it. In fact, as long as the Demon Emperor doesn't make a move, with our strength, it won't be a problem to fight against a few clans." As early as when the news of the evil demon army came, the gods of the Heavenly Court had already contacted Qin Shujian. Unfortunately, the news was sent out, but there was no reply. Because the extraterritorial void was too vast, it was almost impossible to contact with the communication jade talisman. The Demon Emperor probably won't make a move. Xiao Chengfeng shook his head slightly, his expression cold. In the last battle, Bach and the other Demon Emperors didn't get the upper hand. If they don't have absolute confidence now, the Demon Emperor won't make a move easily. In my opinion, the alliance army of the various clans should be a test. It's not a big problem whether the Emperor of Heaven returns or not. With our strength, it's enough to fight against a few clans. No one had a deeper understanding of the Demon Emperors than him. Although the Demon Emperors were high and mighty, they actually cherished their lives very much. When the ancient Heavenly Court attacked the evil demon clan in the void, Bach was killed, and the other Demon Emperors didn't even dare to fart. Seeing that they were no match for the Heavenly Court, they retreated decisively. In fact, even when the Demon Abyss attacked the Great Thousand World, those Demon Emperors didn't dare to move, let alone get a share of the pie. Therefore, Xiao Qingfeng was certain. Those Demon Emperors would definitely not make a move again before they were 100% confident. In the last battle, although he didn't see much, he could understand. The strength of Bach and the other Demon Emperors should be inferior to that of the Emperor of Heaven. Or else, that battle wouldn't be so easy. Yes, it was easy. In Xiao Qingfeng's estimation, The battle for the heavenly court to walk out of the heaven and earth barrier would be extremely tragic. If they were not careful, they might even be wiped out. But in reality, although the heavenly court had lost many true immortals in that battle, it was not as tragic as expected. In the end, thanks to the investiture of the gods, all the fallen true immortals were resurrected. At this moment, darkness erosion. If one took a closer look, they would discover that the boundless darkness was not a single entity. Instead, it was slightly divided. Boom! The heavy and melodious sound of the bell rang. One sound after another reverberated through the battlefield. The restless hearts of all the cultivators who heard the sound of the bell calmed down. Xiao Qingfeng looked at the approaching darkness with a cold smile on his face. It's a pity that the heavenly troops have just been formed.
It's not time to use them yet.
Otherwise, I would also like to see how much advantage a heavenly soldier has over other cultivators. There were too few heavenly soldiers now. There was still a huge gap between them and the 100,000 heavenly soldiers that Qin Shujian had mentioned. Other than that, cultivation techniques and formations. The heavenly soldiers were only at the beginning stages of cultivation. They were not really perfected yet. If they were to use the heavenly soldiers now, then the newly formed heavenly soldiers would be almost useless after the battle. Therefore, Xiao Qingfeng did not plan to let the heavenly soldiers participate in the battle. It was not the final battle yet. It was not a good thing to use the heavenly soldiers rashly. The nefarious Devil Clan's army has taken shape. If they attack our cities directly, we will lose a lot of cultivators. Who is willing to follow me to break the formation? Emperor Zhao clasped his hands behind his back. His gaze was cold and indifferent. After he finished speaking, the dog emperor smiled and said, "Since Emperor Zhongyuan has spoken, we naturally will not refuse. Coincidentally, I have been itching for a long time. Let's play with them."
Count me in.
Si Hanhai's eyes were scarlet. Looking at the void evil demon army in front of him, he felt a violent restlessness in his heart. The last time he devoured a demon emperor, his strength increased greatly. He became the first of the 5 emperors to break through to the 5th level immortal realm. At this moment, in Si Hanhai's eyes, the void evil demons were the best nourishment. As long as he devoured more void evil demons, his strength would increase faster. If he could devour all the demon emperors and demon emperors, he might be able to break through to the 9th level immortal realm. However, Si Hanhai also understood. With his current strength, he could only deal with 1 or 2 demon emperors at most. He was still far from being able to deal with demon emperors. The void evil demons were a huge tonic for him, but he was also nourishment for the void evil demons. If he really met demon emperors, Si Hanhai felt that it was better to think of a way to escape. The demon emperor and the soul protection emperor did not refuse. Especially the soul protection emperor. After restoring his own laws, his strength increased by leaps and bounds. Although he did not break through to the 4th level immortal realm, it was close. As the last of the 5 emperors, the soul protection emperor also wanted to show off. To be honest, the previous battle was a little unsatisfactory. After this battle, I should be able to break through to the 4th level immortal realm. The soul protection emperor's expression was calm. He was not worried about the incoming army of void evil demons. Battle. It was very beneficial for breaking through. After any life and death battle, as long as one did not die, one would gain something. After confirming that the investiture of the gods could be reborn, he was no longer afraid of death. According to Qin Shujian, as long as one's lifespan was not exhausted, or if one was attacked by a Dao fruit expert, one could still be reborn on the investiture of the gods even if one died in the hands of a demon emperor. With this kind of confidence, he was confident. Not only the soul protection emperor, but the other true immortals of the heavenly court were also much less afraid of death. Rebirth after death. At most, they would only be weakened for a short period of time. Apart from that, there would be no other side effects. Make your move. Emperor Zhao took a step forward, and the nameless stone spear fell into his hand. The stone spear slashed down. The cold spear light cut through the lonely void and headed straight for the darkness. In an instant, a demon emperor made his move. Dark energy surged like a tide, trying to forcibly stop the spear light. However, Zubing's power combined with Emperor Zhao's strength. Ordinary demon emperors had no chance of contending against him. In an instant, dark energy tore through the void. The demon emperor was blasted away. Then, the spear light plunged into the darkness and tore it apart. When Emperor Zhao made his move, the dog emperor also revealed his true form. A huge 9-headed dog appeared, standing in the void. The 9 heads were the size of mountains, and they swallowed the army of demons in the void.
Boom.
The void shattered, and the dog emperor easily bit and swallowed them. A demon emperor tried to stop him, but the dark energy that erupted was swallowed by the dog emperor when it was about to touch him. However, in terms of strength, there was a big gap between the dog emperor and Emperor Zhao. Emperor Zhao could easily defeat a demon emperor, but the dog emperor could not. Even so, after the dog emperor made his move, the army's progress was temporarily stopped. All of a sudden, monstrous blood clouds rose, covering the entire army of demons in the void. In the blood clouds, blood lotuses rose one after another, and Si Hanhai's figure appeared on every single one of them. Evil and tyrannical laughter echoed in the void. "It's him." Yurwei's and Longfellow's expressions changed. They recognized Si Hanhai, because the demon emperor Troy of the Mashiluo clan died in his hands. As for the expert who had killed Troy, he had no idea what to do. The 2 demon emperors could not forget. At this moment, the blood clouds spread and collided with the darkness. Seeing the scene, the demon emperors made their move, but they could not stop all the blood clouds. The blood clouds rushed into the army of demons in the void, causing many casualties. In the next moment, a golden-winged rock shattered the void, and a long river of laws surged. A huge face appeared in the void.
For the first time,
everyone could clearly see the 5 imperial emperors making their moves. In the previous battle, although the 5 imperial emperors also made their moves, they were fighting separately. The others did not have time to observe. But it was different now. The army of demons in the void had not completely arrived, and the cultivators and players were all in a state of preparation. At this moment, they all saw the power of the 5 imperial emperors in the extraterritorial battlefield. Terrifying power gathered. It forcefully tore apart the boundless darkness. The moment the darkness was torn apart, the gods of the heavenly court made their move. The cultivators and players of the myriad races also made their move at the first moment. A great battle. In the blink of an eye, it erupted. Demon Emperor? Si Hanhai instantly fixed his eyes on a target, and an evil smile appeared on his face. After devouring Troy last time, he had already tasted the benefits.
So,
right now, he only wanted to devour a few more demon emperors to increase his strength. Longfellow, who was targeted by Si Hanhai, immediately had a solemn expression. In terms of strength, Longfellow was naturally not afraid of Si Hanhai. It was just that Troy had fallen in the hands of the other party, so he instinctively felt afraid. However, fear was fear. Longfellow had no intention of backing down either. His gaze was cold as he said, "You're the one who killed Troy, right? Then let me see just how strong the person who killed Troy is." The dark energy surged, and the long river of laws surged. He entered the devil's pool once. His strength had also increased by a lot. Originally, Longfellow's strength was already above Troy's. Now that he had broken through, his strength had become even more terrifying. As soon as he made his move, that powerful aura made Si Hanhai's heart solemn. However, he didn't reveal too much on the surface. He took a step forward. Blood clouds surged. Blood lotuses bloomed one after another, giving birth to one Si Hanhai after another, pouncing towards Longfellow. Pretending to be mysterious, Longfellow sneered. With a wave of his hand, dark energy erupted, forcefully destroying the Si Hanhai that pounced towards him. All of a sudden, Behind Longfellow, blood lotuses bloomed, and a palm reached out towards his back. Just as it was about to touch him, Longfellow's body suddenly dispersed like black mist. In the next moment, he had already appeared behind Si Hanhai. Si Hanhai's expression changed slightly. Without pausing for even half a breath, blood-red immortal essence surged, and he turned around and struck out with his palm. Boom! Two terrifying forces collided, shattering the void. In the next moment, they were already fighting in close quarters. Deep in the outer realm, Qin Shu Jian was currently engaged in a fierce battle with a void beast. A terrifying aura burst out, shattering the space within 100 million li into pieces. In the chaotic void, there were the corpses of void beasts lying there. There were strong and weak corpses. The strong ones were true immortals, and the weak ones were diviners. As for the void beasts below the diviner level, facing the power of a 9th-level immortal, there were no corpses left at all. At this moment, the void beast that was fighting with Qin Shu Jian was at the upper 3rd level of the true immortal realm. Its body was 1,000,000 feet long. Every time they exchanged blows, it seemed to be able to break time and space. Boom! The Godslayer slashed down. The void beast let out an angry roar, and one of its arms was chopped off. However, before blood could spurt out, flesh and blood grew out, and a new arm had already grown out. At the same time, a fist bombarded. Qin Shujian's body shook slightly, and in the face of this huge force, he also retreated. After taking a step back, he immediately leaned forward. Zhu Bing's sharpness was revealed, and the cold blade light was enough to shatter time and space. Boom! 3 days later, one man and one beast fought nonstop. In the end, Qin Shujian's strength was stable, and he used the Godslayer to cut off the void beast's head. Just as the other party was about to regenerate its flesh and blood, the investiture of the gods came down and forcibly shattered its body.
Then,
the Godslayer directly stabbed into the void beast's body. A large amount of energy was absorbed by the stone blade. The flesh and blood disappeared. The void beast's indestructible soul let out an indignant roar. But it was useless. In half a day, the void beast's flesh and blood were all absorbed by the Godslayer. The blade, which was already exuding a powerful aura, now had an even more powerful aura. How long will it take to transcend the tribulation? After the Godslayer completely absorbed the power of the flesh and blood, Qin Shu Jian waved his hand and threw out the red lotus of purgation to refine the remaining beast corpses, in order to help the Godslayer transcend the tribulation. Now, he didn't refine the corpses of the upper 3 levels of true immortals. He left them all for the other party to absorb. The stone blade vibrated and transformed into the appearance of a young man. The strength of this beast is not simple. I estimate that it is at least an 8th-level immortal, much stronger than a 7th-level immortal. With one more beast like this, I can start transcending the tribulation. 10 upper 3 levels of true immortals could transcend the tribulation. But the upper 3 levels of true immortals here only referred to 7th-level immortals. In fact, the energy that an 8th-level immortal could provide was not comparable to that of a 7th-level immortal at all. The energy contained in the body of an 8th-level immortal was at least several times that of a 7th-level immortal. Qin Shu Jian said indifferently, "This void beast is not weak. Although it is not a 9th-level immortal, it is almost ready to advance. If I'm not wrong, it should be the Beast Emperor of the Outer Realms. It can be considered the strongest void beast. However, there might be even more powerful void beasts out there. It's just that it is not so easy to find an existence of the same level. If it was not a top 8th-level immortal, how could it be qualified to fight with him for so long and be killed by him in the end?" Qin Shu Jian was almost certain that the void beast he killed was almost the strongest of all the void beasts in the universe. As for whether there was a stronger void beast, the possibility was very low. After all, in the outer realm, the void demons were the rulers. Compared to the void beasts, there was a big gap in strength. If the void beasts had a 9th level immortal, they would not be suppressed by the void demons. He simply cleaned up the battlefield. Qin Shu Jian left the place. Killing the void demons was only a secondary matter. Finding the stars and increasing the overall strength of the great wide world was the most important thing at the moment. However, when Qin Shu Jian left, he did the same thing as before. He sprinkled the blood of the star beasts in the void to attract the void beasts as much as possible. As for whether it was possible to kill the void beasts to extinction or not, it had nothing to do with him. In any case, the void demons were an obstacle. The void beasts were also an obstacle to the heavenly court's exploration of the outer realm. When the cultivators of the myriad races walked out of the outer realm, many cultivators died in the hands of the void beasts. The void beasts did not have intelligence. They only had instincts. Therefore, it was impossible for the two sides to live in harmony. Since they could not live in harmony, then they would kill all of them, and there would be no trouble later. The blood of the star beasts spilled. Soon, other void beasts were attracted. In this regard, there was no need for Qin Shu Jian to make a move. With the Godslayer's own strength, he could kill all the beasts below the true immortal realm. While killing the beasts, there were also other stars that appeared in his perception. He saw a star that was hundreds of thousands of feet in size quietly floating in the void. On the star, it had a powerful aura. Seeing this, Qin Shu Jian formed a seal with both hands. When his vital essence erupted, it turned into a sealing power that fell on the star, forcibly sealing the power emitted by the star. As the sealing power fell, the star trembled violently. Although the stars didn't have intelligence, they could still sense some threats from the unseen world. It was just that this kind of resistance, for Qin Shu Jian, it had no effect at all. Then, the god roll flew out. The list turned into 1,000,000 feet in size in the wind, covering the sky and the sun, and directly absorbing the star. In the next moment, the god roll returned to its original size and fell into Qin Shu Jian's hands. All of a sudden, the god roll shook for a moment. Among the names of the gods on it, one of the names seemed to have lost its luster and suddenly became dim. An immortal god has fallen. Qin Shu Jian's expression changed, and his expression immediately became solemn. The immortals who could be on the list were the strongest among the true immortals of the myriad races. If it wasn't for the outbreak of a great battle, there was almost no possibility of them falling. Could it be that he encountered a powerhouse of the nefarious devil clan in the outskirts of the void? Qin Shu Jian's expression flickered as his gaze remained fixed on the name. Immediately after, the god roll rose into the sky. Qin Shu Jian waved his hand, and vital essence surged. The violent energy in the outer realm also swarmed over. Not long after, a wisp of true spirit flashed, and an immortal god walked out of the void. P.S. Requesting monthly votes. Chapter 763. In the void outside the realm. Violent energy swarmed over. The Moon Emperor's body appeared out of thin air, and then solidified. His eyes, which were originally filled with confusion and emptiness, regained their original luster at this moment.
Soon,
the Moon Emperor saw the surrounding environment clearly. Those chaotic memories were also reorganized and perfected.
Then,
she bowed slightly. Greetings, Emperor of Heaven. What happened? With your strength as the Moon Sovereign, even if you met a demon emperor, you shouldn't have fallen. Could it be that you met a demon emperor? Qin Shu Jian's expression was cold. As an immortal god, the Moon Lord's deity position was powerful enough to make the Moon Emperor one of the few strongest people below the 4 war gods. Although the other party was a 3rd-level immortal, if they really fought, it would not be easy for a 3rd-level true immortal to kill him.
So,
the death of the Moon Emperor. This made Qin Shu Jian instinctively feel that things might not be good. The Moon Emperor said, "The Void Evil Demon clan has formed an army and is attacking the extraterritorial battlefield. We also want to contact the Emperor of Heaven about this, but the extraterritorial void is vast, and the communication jade token can't send the news out." The extraterritorial void was too big, and the communication jade token also had a distance limit. In addition, the extraterritorial void was filled with violent energy everywhere, which also weakened the effect of the communication jade token. The Void Evil Demon Clan is attacking the extraterritorial battlefield. Qin Shujian stood with his hands behind his back. The body that the God Slayer had transformed into also disappeared. The essence of the stone saber reappeared and quietly stayed beside him. Did a demon emperor make a move? Qin Shujian asked in a deep voice. If a demon emperor made a move, then the myriad races would probably suffer heavy losses. But until now, only the Moon Emperor had died. Logically speaking, there should be no demon emperor making a move. But if there was no demon emperor making a move, the Void Evil Demons had nothing better to do and wanted to attack the extraterritorial battlefield. As expected, Moon Emperor's answer was the same as what Qin Shujian had guessed. I didn't see any demon emperors. Only a few demon emperors from different clans have joined the battle. Now, they are fighting against the imperial emperors of 5 directions, and the outcome of the battle has yet to be determined. As for me, I accidentally fell at the hands of a demon king. Toward the end of her sentence, the Moon Queen looked a little ashamed. The dignified Moon Lord had fallen at the hands of a demon king. If word got out, it would be a shameful matter. However, on the battlefield, any situation could change in an instant. It was also impossible for it to be the same as a normal battle, where fairness or one-on-one was a must. She was originally fighting a demon king, but in the end, she was ambushed by other demon kings and had no choice but to die. Fortunately, one could still be reborn in the investiture of the gods. Otherwise, the Moon Clan would have to change a new emperor. Then follow me back. Qin Shujian glanced at the Moon Queen. Then, he stepped into the void and headed for the extraterrestrial battlefield. Seeing this, the Moon Empress followed behind him. Along the way, Qin Shujian was also paying close attention to the changes on the investiture of the gods. Although no demon emperor had made a move before, it was possible that after the Moon Empress died, there would be a demon emperor. As long as the immortals and gods on the investiture of the gods did not die on a large scale, there would be no problem. But if a large number of immortals and gods on the investiture of the gods died, things would become very troublesome. To be honest, Qin Shujian didn't expect that the nefarious Devil Clan would attack the extraterritorial battlefield. Earlier, he did not receive any news at all. Otherwise, Qin Shujian would not take the risk to enter the depths of the extraterrestrial battlefield. Because in the Heavenly Court, there were only about 3 people who had the battle strength of an upper 3 true immortal, including Chu Kuangtu and Niu Dali. But the Demon Emperor was not an ordinary upper 3 true immortal. So, he was the only one who could compete with the Demon Emperor. If the Demon Emperor really made a move at this time, Qin Shujian was not confident that he could rush back immediately. At that time, the Heavenly Court would definitely suffer heavy losses. The news of me leaving the Heavenly Court should not have spread, and the Demon Emperors could not have gotten the news. I almost killed them in the last battle. Without 100% confidence, those Demon Emperors would not dare to make a move easily. Even if I don't show up, they will still be afraid. It's just that the Heavenly Court does not show any signs of defeat. If they do, it will be really troublesome. Qin Shujian's expression was calm, but he was already thinking about some things in his heart. As long as he did not show up, Ba Duo and the other demon emperors would be afraid. But if the Heavenly Court was at a disadvantage and he did not show up, it would arouse the other party's suspicion. At that time, even if those few devil emperors had scruples in their hearts, they could possibly make a move to probe. Once the demon emperors made a move, the casualties would be heavy. An upper 3 true immortal was not someone that other true immortals could compete with, not to mention that the demon emperors were not true immortals who had just entered the upper 3 true immortal. Even the weakest demon emperor was around the 8th true immortal. As for Ba Duo and Mo Xiaola, they were experts at the 9th true immortal level. In the last battle, although the other party was injured, their strength would not drop too much. If they really wanted to fight, Chu Kuang-tu and the others would not have the possibility to fight back. Now the Heavenly Court's core strength is enough, but the top strength is still lacking. Once I leave, the Heavenly Court's strength will fall into a vacuum. Only when Chu Kuang-tu and Niu Dali break through can the current situation be resolved. Qin Shu Jian sighed secretly. In the past, having a true immortal was already considered a top combat strength. But now it was different. Opening the extraterritorial battlefield, the Heavenly Court faced the void demons that had existed for countless years. Ordinary true immortals could only be considered a decent combat strength. Only true immortals in the middle three true immortals could be the core combat strength. As for the upper three true immortals, they were the real top combat strength. Without enough top-notch combat power to hold the fort, the current situation would occur. They could not leave at will, because once they left, a war would suddenly break out, and there would not be any experts who could hold the fort. Sigh. Qin Shu Jian sighed silently in his heart. He felt that it was a little difficult. At this moment, the war was still ongoing. Although the allied forces of the three Void Demon clans were not as strong as the last time, they were not much weaker. About 10 days later, both sides were in a state of fierce battle. Every minute and second, a large number of cultivators of the myriad races and the Void Demons died. As long as a Void Evil Devil fell, someone would snatch the crystals away from them. Similarly, when the cultivators of the myriad races died, their flesh and blood would be collected by the Void Demons immediately. On the battlefield at the rear, there were experts supervising the battle. Although both sides had invested most of their forces so far, they still left some experts to guard, in case the Void Demons had other backup plans. They also wanted to prevent the Void Demons from taking the opportunity to sneak into the great wide world. They're collecting flesh and blood. What's their purpose? In the sky above the city, Emperor Pashan noticed the changes in the battlefield, and his face darkened. As the expert holding the line, he could immediately discover the changes in the battlefield. At this moment, he could clearly see it. The Void Demons were collecting the flesh and blood of the fallen cultivators, just like the cultivators collecting the crystals left behind by the Void Demons after they died. But what puzzled the Emperor Pashan was, what was the use of the Void Demons collecting the flesh and blood of living beings? Beside him, it was the Thousand-Eye Emperor, who was severely injured and had temporarily retreated from the battlefield. Hearing this, his expression was solemn. Collecting the flesh and blood of living beings might be the reason why the Void Demons started this war. Otherwise, there's no way to explain why they suddenly attacked. Everything was fine, but they suddenly attacked. The Thousand-Eye Emperor couldn't believe that there was no problem. However, he also couldn't understand why the other party was collecting the flesh and blood of living beings. Not long after, the Thousand-Eye Emperor seemed to have thought of something and said in a deep voice, the Void Demon clan should have some evil secret technique that allows them to collect the flesh and blood of living beings at all costs. Their true goal is probably those demon emperors. The living beings of the myriad races are blessed by the heavens, and flesh and blood are very precious to some existences. I suspect there are demon emperors who are injured in the previous battle and need the flesh and blood of living beings to recover. Of course, it could also be collecting the flesh and blood of living beings, or using some evil method. Not long ago, wasn't the entire Void Demon clan slaughtered, and then used as a blood sacrifice? The Boyle clan was slaughtered. The news of being used as a blood sacrifice by the other three clans was no longer a secret. As an immortal god of the Heavenly Court, the Thousand-Eye Emperor was also very clear. Right now, the Void Demon started a war and then collected the flesh and blood of living beings. As long as he thought about it, he could more or less guess the reason. Even if we understand their intentions, we can't stop them now. The Mountain Breaker Emperor shook his head. Now that the war had started, no one could care about anyone else. Who had the right to stop it? The war at hand. It was already a little strange. As long as the cultivators of the myriad races died, their flesh and blood would be collected by the Void Demons immediately. And when the Void Demons died, Their crystals would also be collected by the myriad race's cultivators and players. As a result, even though countless living beings had died, the number of people who had died was uncountable. But on the battlefield, there were no corpses. In fact, there wasn't even much blood.
Suddenly,
The Mountain Breaker Emperor struck out with his palm. A cultivator who was heading toward the passageway of heaven and earth was instantly torn into pieces. When his body was torn apart, black fog seeped out from his body and then suddenly dispersed. In the end, a crystal fell into the void of space. The Mountain Breaker Emperor retracted his palm and shouted in a deep voice, "Everyone, pay close attention to prevent the void demons from sneaking into the great thousand world." The cultivator that he had just killed was a cultivator who had been possessed by the void demons. There was no need to explain why the other party wanted to sneak into the great thousand world. It was just a heavenly human realm void demon, so it was impossible for him to hide from the Mountain Breaker Emperor's senses. Hearing this, the experts guarding the passageway had solemn expressions on their faces as they became even more vigilant of their surroundings. If the void demons really sneaked into the great thousand world, they would not have an easy time. He had killed a void fiend. The Mountain Breaker Emperor's divine consciousness spread out. While he was vigilant of his surroundings, his expression became even more serious. There is no news of the Emperor of Heaven now. I don't know if the demon emperors will be unable to hold back and attack. If the demon emperors attack, I'm afraid we will be in trouble. The Emperor of Heaven should have received the news that the Moon Empress has fallen. The Thousand-Eye Emperor said in a deep voice. The Emperor of Heaven, who was in charge of the investiture of the gods, would definitely sense the fall of an immortal god. Therefore, he was not worried about this problem. As long as the Emperor of Heaven could rush back in time before the demon emperors attacked, it would be enough. At this moment, another void demon had possessed a cultivator and was attacking the passageway of heaven and earth, as well as the various cities. The Mountain Breaker Emperor and the Thousand-Eye Emperor did not just stand by and watch. They both attacked and killed the void demons that were attacking. Another day passed. Finally, an immortal god was injured and retreated to the rear to recuperate. "Brother Yang, how are your injuries?" The Thousand-Eye Emperor looked at Xiang in front of him and asked. "I won't die for the time being. I didn't expect there to be such a powerful demon king among the void demons. I was careless." Xiang swallowed a pill and barely suppressed his injuries before he shook his head and said, after fighting for so long, he had also lost a lot of energy. Moreover, there was more than one demon king among the void demons, so it was natural for him to be defeated. It was already good enough that he was not killed there. After all, many immortals had already fallen so far. "Brother Yang, take a rest here. Also, pay attention to whether there are any void demons. Take this opportunity to sneak in. Leave the rest to Ben Huang," the Mountain Breaker Emperor said. He did not wait for Xiang to reply before he stepped into the air and left the city. In the void, the battle was still ongoing. Chester struck out with his palm and sent an immortal god flying while coughing up blood. However, there was no joy on his face. Instead, it was filled with shock and uncertainty, because he clearly remembered. The immortal god that was fighting in front of him had already died in his hands in the previous battle.
But now,
the other party had appeared again. Apart from being much weaker, there was no difference. Such a change. Even though Chester was experienced and knowledgeable, he could not help but feel shocked. How is this possible? Why aren't you dead? On the day you die, Ben Huang will naturally tell you. The Shadow Emperor wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and charged towards Chester again. He was an imperial member of the Shadow clan. Back when the Heavenly Court had been established, he had already been part of the Zhou Tian constellation. Although he was not as strong as Chester, he was still a third heaven immortal. Coupled with the Shadow clan's unique techniques, even a middle third heaven true immortal would have to expend some effort to kill him. The Shadow Emperor moved, and his body dissipated like a black fog. The sky was filled with black shadows. When he entered the darkness, it was as if he had completely merged with it. In the void outside, because there was no light, there was no way to see the existence of shadows. However, just because one could not see a shadow did not mean that it did not exist. Quite the opposite. Only an invisible shadow could exist anywhere. Thus, after the Shadow Emperor used the Shadow Clan's ultimate technique, he had completely merged with Chester's shadow. Attacks that were impossible to defend against came from all directions, trying to kill him. "You're courting death." The flames of fury in Chester's heart ignited. The long river of laws in his body surged, and a terrifying power swept out in all directions with him as the center. The void collapsed. The indiscriminate attacks swallowed up all the living beings in the surroundings. Some demons of the void fell. Some cultivators of the myriad races also fell. In the instant that the void collapsed, boundless black shadows spread out and then converged into the Shadow Emperor's body. Just as the Shadow Emperor appeared, Chester's body suddenly disappeared. In the next second, a palm imprinted on the Shadow Emperor's chest. A terrifying power erupted. The Shadow Emperor's body was instantly blasted into pieces. "Ben Huang, let's see if you really can't be killed." Chester looked at the Shadow Emperor's body, which had collapsed. With a wave of his hand, power swept through the void and sealed the Shadow Emperor's body. Next, the power erupted, destroying the Shadow Emperor's last bit of life. Then, Chester took the Shadow Emperor's flesh and blood. The instant he took the Shadow Emperor's flesh and blood, a terrifying power descended from the void. In front of that power, Chester's body was trembling violently. His face was full of shock, as if he had encountered a terrifying existence. "Lord Demon Emperor, save me." Chester didn't hesitate and directly asked for help. Just as he finished speaking, a palm stretched out from the depths of the void. At the same time, another palm stretched out. The two palms collided in the air, and the destructive aftermath annihilated everything. Immediately, one of the palms cracked, and blood splattered in the void. When the others reacted, they saw a green-robed figure appear there at some point. Emperor of Heaven. Seeing Qin Shujian appear, the morale of the myriad races was greatly boosted. On the side of the void demons. But they weren't affected at all. It was just that those demon emperors who were watching the battle from behind and didn't make a move without permission had no choice but to appear after Qin Shujian appeared. "You've become even stronger." Looking at the person in front of him, Bok's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. In the exchange just now, this made him realize a shocking fact. That was that Qin Shujian's strength had become even stronger than the last time they fought. Although this strength, it was only a negligible increase. But at their level, they could clearly sense even the slightest fluctuation. After the battle, the demon emperors were seriously injured. Their strength wasn't greatly reduced, but they hadn't recovered much either. Looking at the other party again, he was also seriously injured, but now not only had his injuries healed, but his strength had also improved. Immediately, Qin Shujian's threat was raised by several levels in Bok's heart. Hearing this, Qin Shujian stood with his hands behind his back, his expression indifferent. "Where are the other two demon emperors? Why don't you let them come out together? If only you, Bok, are here today, I'm afraid I'll accidentally kill you." His tone wasn't heavy, but to Bok it was extremely insulting. However, he didn't get angry easily now. The change in Qin Shujian's strength made him a little uncertain. It was also at this moment. Darkness filled the air, and Mo Xiaolua and Yizhou appeared at the same time. The appearance of the three demon emperors and Qin Shujian. It directly increased the intense atmosphere on the battlefield by a lot. If the previous battle wasn't as good as the last one, then with the appearance of the top experts on both sides, it wouldn't be any weaker than that battle. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.